reserved till 2 o'clock and 6 of y'all, so I don't.
Have state the lease.
Officer? Do you just have Mr. Figueroa joining you right now?
Figueroa and Williams.
Oh, okay. If you want to put Mr. Williams in the room, you can. We'll get started in just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And then when you're done, just let me know.
Okay.
All right, good morning. My name is Parole Officer Wangerton. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, I'm panel member Barry.
Deborah Smith O'Mary. Nancy Turner.
Also in attendance this morning is our board psychologist. Sir, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
My name is Robert Williams, inmate number 331273.
Thank you very much. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Robert Williams, inmate number 331273. Mr. Williams is serving a total effective sentence of 20 years, execution suspended after 6 years and 6 months, followed by 10 years of probation for charges of 2 counts risk of injury to a child and illegal sexual contact. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of August 25th, 2025 at 50%. There is victim input in this case. There's also an offender accountability plan in place that has been reviewed and shows that he has successfully participated in good intentions, bad choices, anger management, short track problem sexual behavior treatment, and voices. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the high range risk for recidivism. Mr. Williams, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
All right, yes, thank you. Thank you for your time. Yes, I actually wrote something. If you don't mind if I could read it, it takes about 3 minutes and 41 seconds for me to read it.
That's fine, sir, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to say thank you for having me here today. I know that parole is a privilege, not a right, and I'm grateful for this time and opportunity. In my life, I haven't had the best influences or made the best decisions. I'm here before you today, a changed man who is continuously striving to be the best version of myself, despite what anyone thinks. Excuse me as I briefly take you down my road of pain, sorrow, cognitive distortions, accountability, forgiveness, rehabilitation, and redemption. I'm currently serving a sentence.
So, Mr. Williams, I apologize. I appreciate your giving us your history, but the question was why you deserve parole.
Oh,
So
right.
I need you to focus on that. We've had an opportunity to review some of your history.
Okay.
Your files.
All right. So I'll try to cut straight to the chase.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I should have never went to the hotel with the underage teenage female from New York and take full responsibility of that. It was stupid and selfish, and I hope one day she can find forgiveness in her heart for my actions. I'm the adult and take full accountability. Also, I take full accountability for talking to the underage female while incarcerated. I thought I was helping her stay focused after she was arrested for a firearm, but our friendship wasn't appropriate. And also apologize. It wasn't my place. And at the time, I thought I was giving back to the community. Again, I was dealing with cognitive distortive beliefs I needed to shake off, and I was wrong. Accountability and gratuity has been big on my rehabilitation, because after I took accountability of my actions and not put it on others, I then developed a sense of gratuity. being grateful with the ability to know what I need to change, and feeling blessed with the opportunity to practice and express that change. It wasn't easy. First, I needed to dig deep within myself and be honest with myself in order to have a change of thought and mindset. For example, what bad decisions got me here? I was in denial. I finally admitted to myself that working at a bar, socially drinking, I'm not a drinker, lack of sleep, and putting drugs in my system contributed to my distorted thoughts, reasoning, and bad decisions. For every attempt, I caught a dirty urine and thought it wasn't a problem, but it was. During my incarceration, I've completed anger management, good intentions, bad choices, voices, and I'm completing tier 2 right now as we speak. But honestly speaking, the program in which left the biggest impression on me that I've learned the most after completing is the Voices program, because it made me conscious of the effect our actions have on others, both long-term and short-term. I was very naive of my actions and the effects I've had on others. And for that, I want to say I apologize to my friends, family, and community. Someone asked me, why am I a good candidate for parole? And besides all the growth I've shared already, I feel as though I completed every program and more on my OOP. I developed a great support group with my wife and friends and family. I currently have work opportunities open to me as we speak. I've earned good time. I've been staying out of trouble, and my family needs me home to work because I need to meet my basic human needs. I don't want to reciprocate. And I know if granted the opportunity for parole, there would be zero tolerance. My wife and family is aware and aren't playing with me. This time, if I mess up, I'm going to lose what I have left, and I refuse to fail. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, for your opening statement. We appreciate your expression of remorse and your acceptance of responsibility. And we also appreciate your taking time to write down your thoughts so that you can convey them to the board. We appreciate your efforts thus far. So what's going to happen, sir, is each of us will take turns asking you questions. When we're done with our questions, we will turn the hearing over to our victim's advocate for input from the victim. And when that's over, we will deliberate, talk about your case, and then we'll render our final decision. Okay? We wish you the best of luck, sir. Ms. Smith-Palmieri will start with questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Williams, thank you for your opening statement. As the chair stated, I did hear you talk about responsibility, your remorse for the crimes. And let's start with the offense itself. I read the word grooming in some of the materials. What do you know about grooming? And how do you think it factored into your offense?
Well, I've learned that grooming is basically like, you know, when you're nurturing someone for your best, for your own benefit, so to speak. I wasn't really aware of the term before, but I've learned it through my programming. And now I'm more aware of my actions rather, you know, now than before.
Give me an example in your situation, how you groom the victim.
I guess I'm spending a lot of time and talking to them a lot about, you know, I guess certain things we wasn't even supposed to talk about, I guess, and things of that nature, ma'am.
Okay. Do you think you made the victim any promises or enticed the victim in a way that you were attempting to endear her to you? Promises made?
I guess unintentionally, ma'am. You know, again, I'm more aware of my actions now. You know, before when you're doing something wrong, at that time I was dealing with cognitive distorted thought thinking. You know, and it just wasn't. You know, I was just in illusional thoughts, like I wasn't in good thinking, miss.
So, right, what jumps out at me in terms of grooming, in your situation, in your case, is when you promised the victim that you would take her to the trampoline park, right? Certain situations like that where you tried to endear her to you by things you thought she would like or want to do, but couldn't do unless you brought them or did them for her. And now I'm going to move on though. I've heard you mention cognitive distortions a few times. What
Yes.
do you know about cognitive distortions? And tell me what yours were.
Okay, so mine, cognitive distortion is your way of thinking, and how it become distorted is after drugs or lack of sleep, not taking care of your body or whatever, and the after effects. It changed the way you're thinking, the way you process things, your reasoning, etc. And at the time, I thought I was being like normal. I was having normal thoughts and stuff, when in all reality, I was having distorted thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And I took it back to a little bit of like when I was first released before. I thought it was a good thing working at a bar 14 days fresh home, and it wasn't a good environment to be in. You know what I'm saying? But what I say, you think about the money, but at the same time, the peers and the influence I subjected myself to, and then which ended up making me think in negative ways, etc. Yeah,
Okay.
it all plays a part.
Okay, I mean, you're right in the sense that it is a way in which somebody thinks that is, exaggerated or not correct. And your relationship, or what you consider to be a relationship with this victim, was not the correct way to think. Why is that? Tell me what was wrong with that, with you being with the victim.
Because at the end of the day, I'm the adult. I was an adult, even though I barely knew the victim like that. Like, it's not like we didn't have years together or, experiences together like that at all, for the record. You know what I'm saying? But again, me being the adult, you know what I'm saying, me being grown, me being more experienced, regardless of whatever, I just should have made better choices from day one,
Well, there's a glaring factor here, and I'm going to take you back to when you say, I'm the adult. What's wrong with this situation? Why were you arrested? And because why? Well, let me rephrase that. Sorry. You're the adult. Why were you arrested?
I'm the adult. I was arrested because, I risked the injury, the morals of, someone minor, you know what I'm saying? When I say a teenage female, and there was relations that encountered at the hotel room that, regardless of what I was feeling at the time, it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not here to like debate or be combative as far as like what a report says, ma'am. What I say, because I did plead guilty on the Alfred doctrine or whatever, and I say that just to say, like, I know what I did wrong, now. I know what I did wrong from the beginning.
Why? Okay, so why was it wrong?
It was immoral. It was
keep going.
It was immoral because I should have just been more of just a more of a nurturer, more of just like more of a role model, Well, I say, but again.
You were an adult. The victim is a minor.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the top, that's illegal.
Yes.
It is immoral. It's wrong.
Yes.
And you groom the victim in order to get her to trust you. I read in some of the statements that you provided, I want to note that I'm sorry to my victim and their loved ones for anything that I did. When you say anything, it makes it seem as though I read it as somebody who doesn't quite exercise the knowledge to know what you did? When you say anything I did, it sounds very broad,
Oh,
like you
no.
were simply just mean to the victim.
No, excuse me. I didn't mean to really sound so broad. Anything basically was like a simile for everything, you know? That's all. When I say anything, I mean like everything, ma'am. You know? I wasn't trying to be abroad. You know, this is an isolated incident, you know, so I'm not speaking abroad, I'm speaking about.
Well, it's not exactly an isolated incident, because there were multiple occasions that you were with the victim.
Agreed. When I say isolated, isolated, I'm just speaking about, like, you know, the occurrence, you know, the victim, whatever, you know, the situation. And that's what I meant by, like, when I meant, like, I apologize for anything. I really meant I apologize for everything, ma'am.
Okay. When you were evaluated by Special Services, the Connection, when you were asked to make a statement about your offense, you said, I was getting familiar with the world and people around me.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit concerned about that statement because it doesn't address the fact that you took advantage of an underage child or a person who was underage. I put myself in a predicament and I regret with an underage female in a hotel. I had just done 10 and a half years and was getting familiar with the outside world.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes,
at age, when this occurred, you were around 33 years old.
Mhm.
So you're not a young adult. You're a mature, full-grown person.
Agreed, ma'am. Agreed, ma'am.
How did you justify this to yourself?
So about that statement, you know, when I say, you know, I was getting familiar with the world or whatever, it was just that after being away from the world for so long of a time, and then you just get dumped in the world, you know what I'm saying? You're just dumped out there. You know, you're just, you don't have a plan, you don't have too much of a support system or whatever. You're just dumped out there and you're told just to work or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's what I meant by getting familiar with the world and stuff as I knew it, because it was 10 and a half years, you know, I did, you know, with that much time being away, sometimes, you know, that much time being away, sometimes your thoughts, your sense of reality, sometimes, you know, becomes a little bit tainted because you're doing time. So then I come home or whatever, I'm getting familiar, I want to work. You know what I'm saying? I want to be positive or whatever. But then I may end up doing bad decisions. That's why I took it back to working at the bar. And then I'm not even a drinker, you know, a socially drinking. And then I'm not, you know, and then the drugs, like I caught my first drug offense, you know, before this or whatever, boom, ever in my life or whatever. And I was in denial, like, as far as like the toll that it did on my mental and stuff and on my actions and like how I thought about things and like how I reasoned with things and stuff, you know? So that's why a little bit, I'm sorry, like, you know, with the answer, it was kind of like brief or whatever, but that's why I took accountability for going to a hotel room and what happened, whatever. But when I said about the world, that's what I meant by like the world and stuff, man.
Well, when I read the summary from your treatment sessions in the sex offender program, you know, part of your release plan, your relapse prevention plan, you identified internal risk factors as loneliness, boredom, and happiness. And then you discuss your cognitive distortions when you talk about you wanted the victim to need you. That's all part of the grooming that I brought to discuss.
Yeah.
Early
I was made aware of that. Yep. Yeah, I was made aware of that.
So what do you tell me? You did the short-term sex offender treatment program, which is an important program for you to participate in. Tell me what your biggest takeaway from that program was. What will you take home into the community that's going to help you not engage in this kind of behavior in the future?
Well, first off, there's other ways to express yourself besides, sexually. Period. We're about to say, and there's other ways. And if you're thinking of certain things, there's other ways. There's ways of being, to distract yourselves or to stay positive. The program spoke about grooming, spoke about hypersexuality, spoke about likes, dislikes. It spoke about a lot. And again, as an individual, I had to take certain things and not be in denial and really apply it to myself and say, you were wrong. Like, it can't happen again, no more. What got you to that mental state to make them bad decisions? And like I'm continuing to strive, miss. And although I finished that program, I don't mind even learning more,
Whether you're granted parole today or not, Mr. Williams, you'll be required to participate in a similar program in the community. It'll be much more intense and lengthier.
Yes.
I also have some concern with when the treatment provider asks you to identify a high-risk situation, and you say, being outside in the summer with my shirt off, smoking a blunt, and a young girl comes to ask me where to buy weed. Why do you think I have concern with that statement?
Honestly, so when I gave that statement, I didn't want to be like too bland, like when I say bland, like trying to be too specific, like this specific situation, when minute situations could come across. In all reality, whether minute or major, you know what I'm saying? I know better. Period. So when I brought up that little example, it's just like that was a small example, boom, but it's a small thing that I have to keep my senses on and identify immediately. Period.
I mean, the only reasonably positive thing about that statement is that you say you will get up and leave.
Mm-hmm.
But the beginning of the statement is just unusual.
Well, see, with all due respect, ma'am, with all due respect and sincerity, what may be usual for one may not be usual for another person, especially depending on their environment, et cetera, the neighborhood, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So that's why. That's all it was. Nothing major.
Okay. I do see that you recognize that you'll be able to have no contact with underage people, any minors. And what is underage?
Anything under 18.
And what is your plan to accomplish that in the community?
I plan on just working and just focusing on just me and my wife. Honestly, or about to say, I'm aware of certain restrictions and stuff so far. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna recidivate. I'm continue to strive and better myself, and that's it.
All right. So another question I have for you is, you said a few times throughout the interview, whether it was with parole officer or the treatment providers, and today, that you did 10.5 years in prison, and, sex was heavily on your mind and clouded your perspective. Now you've done 6.5 years, right? You have a 6.5 year sentence, same perspective, very long time incarcerated. How do you think you're going to manage that feeling when you're back out in the community?
Well, staying busy, staying motivated, planning short-term goals. And again, knowing who my friends are, like choosing my friends wisely, you know, choosing the people who are around me wisely and stuff, because, you know, certain habits could lead into bad other habits and bad decision making, you know?
So you have taken some good programs. How do you think you're benefiting from the Tier 2 program right now?
I benefited a great deal and stuff because, you know, when you think of like addiction, you know, you think, okay, people have a problem, you know, they're doing drugs, you know, they can't pay their bills and stuff, you know, you're stealing things and stuff, but we don't really pay attention to the mental health part, you know, all the holes in your brain and trouble you could have just thinking normally due to the after effects of drugs, and not even just drugs. The way I learned about how tobacco has certain effects on your body the same way alcohol does, you know, and it's like certain things that's just around us on a regular basis that just, you know, can mess with the way we feel and think. And it made me very aware, you know, it made me more conscious, you know?
All right. Right. You already talked about the Voices program. What do you think the long-term effects on the victim in a situation like this are? How do you think you've affected the victim?
I affected the victim, trust issues, you know, probably with people, probably probably a victim, you know, probably don't want to be around any hotels or something due to memories and stuff. You know, emotional, you know, I affected the victim emotionally, you know, mentally, you know, and again, I'm sorry, you know, and just one day, you know, wish to put it in the past, even though you can't put in the past, you know, too far, you know, is a, you know, it happened, but to learn and just, you know, and just ask for God's mercy and just move forward.
I just heard you say, I'm sorry. I'm not sure I read those words or heard those yet. What are you sorry for? What are you sorry for?
I'm sorry for thinking the way I was thinking and putting myself in that position, period. You know, I'm about to say, I'm sorry for any hurt I've caused the victim or anyone else, friends, family, period, that I know or don't know, you know?
Thank you for that. So you have, your disciplinary history has somewhat improved. I mean, prior to this sentence, you had accumulated 50-something disciplinary reports. This time you have 3, the last being in November. So how do you think you're managing to stay out of trouble there? What are you doing to do that within the last 6 months?
Honestly, I've just been sticking to myself, working out, reading, speaking to family, and again, choosing the people around me wisely. You know, protecting my energy, you know, because some people just have bad energy and stuff, you know, and just focus on going home sooner to my family and stuff, you know.
You have a long criminal history. You were on special parole for an assault 1 when this offense occurred. Why were you having such a hard time with parole? Why do you think you've managed to get yourself involved in this situation when you're on parole for such a serious offense?
Again, it was the initial. So when I maxed out, first off, like at the end, you know, things got a little wacky. Like my address that I was supposed to go to ended up, you know, I couldn't use the address no more. You know, then I ended up just getting, you know, just placed in a halfway house. Then I ended up, you know, having to stagger and reverse my plans and stuff. And then that's why I took that job, you know, out of nowhere, you know, which I shouldn't have, you know, even though I thought it was a good idea, but I should have thought about who I was going to have around me and stuff, you know? Well, I say, because again, it was just a bunch of bad influences. You know, when you're working every day from 8 to 1 o'clock every day, Monday through Sunday, and you're not sleeping like that, and then, you know, the alcohol, it was just wasn't a bad mix. You know what I'm saying? Well, I say I should have just went home and just worked at a restaurant or, you know, a Walmart, you know, regular hours, you know, get regular sleep and practice good habits, you know?
Well, those are all things that you need to keep in mind when you are back out in the community, right? Learning from your mistakes, your poor decision-making.
Yes.
All right. For your release plan, you want to live with your wife and she has agreed. Is that a good place for you to go?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you mentioned employment.
Yes. Yes. I have a couple of job opportunities waiting for me.
All right, Mr. Williams, I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri. Be honestly, asked a lot of the questions that I had for you, Mr. Williams. I just want to state on the record that we did receive a number of letters of support on your behalf, and that your offense did occur while you were on special parole, and said special parole is slated to end on November 26th, 2033. It's my understanding that you did list your wife as your sponsor, but I see in the document we were provided, it said it was not verified. So if that is indeed,
He can't because she's in a custody situation,
okay,
so she doesn't want him there at the house.
right.
Yeah.
So- Go ahead. You can, you
Oh,
speak.
yeah. No. Oh, no. So now again, my wife, my family, my peers, you know, they all thinking about my best, you know, situation. So initially, or whatever, when she got the anonymous call or whatever, boom, boom, you know, she was like, I don't know if it's a good idea right now. Let me look into it. So anyway, she called back and I got a letter from Ms. Vasquez saying that my address was approved.
It's not going to be approved. She has children. So let's talk a little bit more about your while you were out in the community on special parole. Walk me through, because it wasn't just this offense that you were convicted of. You were convicted of several other. You were released out into the community when?
November 22nd,
November 22nd of what year?
2021.
And you were released on November 21st to what? To where were you living?
I was living. I went to Bishop House.
And
And
then,
no,
Go ahead.
Isaiah House. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Isaiah House in Bridgeport.
okay,
It was a
And-
last minute thing.
it was a last minute thing. So, you were released, I see, on, you were released and you changed, you went to the Eddy Center initially, is what I see, and then you went to the Bishop House.
Yeah.
But then you absconded. Why did you
Yes.
abscond?
Miss,
Why?
the whole time I was home, I was working. You know,
That's not my question. Why did you abscond?
I absconded because I was extremely frustrated and stuff because I was working and stuff, and my address that they checked, they didn't approve, and the person didn't have a record or nothing. And I was just like exhausted and just like, and it wasn't a good decision to abscond. I get it, but it's like, it was just like, goodness gracious, like I just wanted to.
So let me explain to you, Mr. Williams, that you have special parole attached to your sentence. One, because you've committed a violent offense. And two, because they understand that it was going to be difficult for you to come out of prison after serving 10.5 years and go back into the community without support. So they gave you that not only to hold you accountable for your behaviors in the community, but to also offer you opportunities and resources that you would not be able to necessarily have on your own. So when you abscond and you go out and start making decisions on your own, this led to you receiving, I see you were caught with selling drugs, you got in possession with the intent to sell, interfering with and resisting arrest, and also now this risk of injury and illegal sexual contact. So
Yeah.
in all that time, you were gone. They said you absconded in April of 2022. When did you actually leave the halfway house?
So I got what, like the end of March, like March 30th, March 31st.
And then, so March 31st. So that meant that you had already sexually assaulted this victim?
The incident already occurred. Yes, ma'am.
So, and you were selling drugs already, all at the halfway house?
Nah, no, ma'am. No, actually, so again, that's why I took it back to my dirty urine February 5th or whatever. I called it dirty urine or whatever, because I actually called it dirty urine for using.
Okay.
You know,
What were you using?
I was using marijuana and cocaine.
I show that when you were out in the community, you received 3 new charges, one on 5/23/23, another on 12/15/23, and your last I see on 10. Did you get something like that right? 10/24/20. You were sentenced by the court on October 24th, 25. For what?
Risk of injury.
For this case.
The second risk of injury where he
Yeah, the
was
second, that's combined.
to a 14-year-old from prison.
Okay, so that's 3, thank you, separate convictions, all while you've been under supervision. And then I also show that originally when you had your discretionary parole hearing, there was a detainer for you for New York, is that right?
Yeah, that's why I told you I was surprised that I was gonna go to Isaiah House because my address was already approved for New York or whatever. But my
Did you
job
ever
was there.
satisfy that detainer?
Excuse me?
Did you ever satisfy that detainer?
Oh, no. Excuse me. I misheard you. I'm sorry. I didn't hear detainer. I heard something about my address in New York. So at the end of my last sentence, before I maxed out November 21st, my address was supposed to be in New York. I had my papers transferred to New York. Unfortunately, the last couple of weeks, the address got canceled or whatever, but my people was having problems. So, and then they just threw me in the Isaiah House.
So my question, let me clarify my question for you, sir, because I just want to, our records indicated that you were supposed to be released to your New York detainer. Did you ever satisfy?
No.
Okay. Right. And then I also saw that you received 2 disciplinary infractions just this year, one for intoxication and interfering with the safety and security in January, and then another one for contraband in February. Why were you accused of those 2 things?
No, listen, I can't pick who they house with me and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It was a situation, wrong place, wrong time. What I say, they did their facility investigation and stuff. And, I wasn't found guilty of no tickets or nothing or whatever. It was just one of those situations. And
so did the other person get the tickets?
Yeah. The other person had other tickets. It was similar, but wasn't the same as mine or whatever.
Okay.
Whatever.
And
but,
I show that you have received 47 disciplinary infractions during this period of incarceration.
No, ma'am.
You've been back in the facility since when?
I've been back in the facility since since 2022, ma'am.
Right.
All the infractions is for my last sentence, ma'am. You know, it's a concurrent sentence and stuff. So all the infractions for my last sentence, ma'am.
You've been down since 2022, right?
Yes, yes,
I
ma'am.
wrote down, you've been down since April 22nd, 2022. And since
Yeah.
April 2nd, you've received 40. Let me look at this brain. Oh, just let me, I do my homework, so please just give me a minute.
No problem.
I see. Okay, so let me go back to that. Yep. Okay, so I stand corrected. I see one in July when you got back.
Mm-hmm. I know them by heart.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. That's 4 already. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 tickets since you've been back.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not trying to be combative or nothing, but just for the record, miss, like a couple of them from the same incident. You know what I'm saying? I was distraught. I was in a.
It doesn't matter. The fact that I'm talking about the behavior, sir.
Yes.
You've given us very little to you. You've shown us thus far that you're non-compliant both out in the community and in the facility. It's noted in several of your evaluations. You've received a new conviction since you've been back in the prison. And although you've participated in positive programs, sir, there appears to be very little evidence of offender change based on our discussion that we're having here today.
Okay.
You may speak.
Miss, so I've been in exactly for about 4 years and like 3 months. To be exact, like 4 years and like 4 months, because I came in 2022, April 21st.
April
Okay.
22nd, 2022
Yes.
is the date I have. Yep, go ahead.
Yes, okay. And from then to now, I was ticket free for almost 2.5 years straight.
Okay.
Now, I'm not justifying anything. You know what I'm saying? Now, I came to jail April, then June, I have no tickets or whatever. And then next thing you know, boom, they put me on some type of special needs status. Then I get hit with this charge and stuff. And it was mind-boggling. So with all due respect, man, boom, I know all them tickets wasn't necessary, boom, boom. But like 6 of them is like from one day, from, you know, when you get extracted and stuff, you know? What about to say, and then other than that, I got one because someone threw water on me and I threw water back, and I got one or whatever because I had some medication, whatever. But other than that, miss, no threat, no, none of that. And I understand, you know, the numbers, when you send them numbers at first, it was a little confusing. 47 and etc. That was my old bid. And with all due respect and honesty, I was doing time in New York at that time. And I know I was supposed to abide by the rules and regulations and stuff while I was doing my concurrent sentence. But New York is different. It's a jungle. You're getting stabbed, you're getting cut on a regular.
Yeah, I saw that. I did
just for
see
your
you
muffins.
mention that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm afraid to say, you know, it's sad to say that I'm being reflected in the state of Connecticut for my survival in New York. You know what I'm saying? Because when it comes to the state of Connecticut, boom, I have no assault on staff, I have no threatening, boom, boom. During this incarceration, boom, I have one fight.
What's the boom? What does boom? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say
I'm
the
just
boom.
like, you keep saying boom, boom.
Oh no, excuse me. That's just a period. I didn't mean to. Excuse me.
Filler word,
Yeah.
a filler word. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, excuse me. So now again, like I was saying, a lot of the time people hold against me everything that I went through in New York or whatever that I didn't participate in Connecticut or whatever. Boom. And again, since I've been in Connecticut, again, yes, the extractions, y'all got extracted. That's what most of them tickets from. Other than that, man, with all due respect, I got a ticket for what? I got a ticket because I wanted to talk to my son. I used somebody's pen to talk to my son. I called the ticket because they found some.
Okay, wait, let's stop right there. You wanted to talk to your son and you used someone else's pen to talk to your son.
Yes,
Was that a right
yes.
decision to make?
Miss, no, you're right. It was not a right decision. You're right. You're right. And the thing is, it's sad to say, right? It's sad to say, right? Again, sad to say.
Yeah.
There's 6 phone calls.
It's not just an isolated thing though, Mr. Williams. It's repeated. It's repetitive. Your poor decision leads you back to prison. And did you know that while you're on special parole, serving a sentence of 2033, that we could have you serve the rest of that time in prison based on your behavior? Did you know that?
Miss, honestly,
That's a yes or no. It's a
no,
yes.
I didn't. I learned more about the law later on, honestly, and
Okay.
I'm fully
All right.
aware, and my senses are fully heightened. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, sometimes with the law and the system,
your sentences are not heightened, sir. They're based on the nature of your crimes, and you're considered a violent offender.
no,
And
I
now
said my
this risk.
senses. I said my senses, not my
Oh, your
senses.
senses.
Yes,
Oh,
excuse
not
me. I said my
sentences.
senses are heightened. Now I'm
Oh,
more
okay.
aware
Okay.
of the circumstances of special parole and stuff. And not for nothing, sometimes, minorities, it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, or brown, whatever. Just sometimes we learn as we're going through the system. You know what I'm saying?
Got
Period.
it.
And with all due respect and honesty, I just would appreciate the opportunity to show my fruits of labor, etc. I'm 38 years old, right? I haven't been in prison. I haven't been going back and forth. Yes, I'm sorry.
I know you have been. I know you've been in and out of prison for a long time. My colleague Tiller said you have an extensive criminal history. And honestly, we're 45 minutes into your hearing already, sir. And I would love to hear from the victim in this case. And I would also like to see if my colleague has any questions for you, Ms. Turner. She hasn't had an opportunity just yet. But I just want you to know that you've had 10 opportunities out in the community, sir. In 8 of those, you failed and you've come back with new charges.
Hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Can I say something real quick? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead. This is your time. You're advocating.
Okay, now I'm sorry. So again, to my knowledge, right? Again, since I graduated high school, I went to prison one time for a firearm, right? I went to the prison where I took my long stretch, right? And then this one, right? And listen, I'm not a scholar. I'm not perfect. I grew up different. I grew up, my mom on America's Most Wanted, no father, found out who my real father was when I was 18, taking a blood test of my own. I grew up teachers on, and everyone has their story, and I just know that I've learned from my mistakes, and I just want the opportunity to do better. And like I said, this is my 3rd time possibly being able to be released, right? And I'm not pointing a finger here, but you have guys that come back 6, 7, 8, 9 times and stuff, and that's recidivism and at its best, and right now I have a great foundation with my loved ones, my wife, my friends, etc. And I know that stipulations is going to be on an individual. Every individual has their boom boom, etc. And me, my family and friends, they were all welcome and ready. And I know that's a big deal, especially having that support.
Yeah.
And you can't take that for granted. You can't take that for granted. I'm not getting any younger, you can't take that for granted. You know what I'm saying? Especially now, things are expensive. It's expensive for me just to be here.
Okay, so Mr. Williams, it is expensive. I appreciate your advocating for yourself. Again, I would like to hear from Ms. Turner so that she can ask her questions, and then I would like to hear from the victim. So if you could just try to keep your answers a little shorter so that we can get,
Through this.
yes, so we can get through it. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Williams, you got married in November.
Yes.
How did you meet your wife?
I know my wife since high school.
Okay. but when did you start having a relationship?
Well, we re-encountered when I was home briefly, and then re-encountered during my incarceration.
And she's fully aware of your crimes and your acceptance of responsibility for violating this child who is a relative of yours?
She's fully aware of the circumstances and everything. And
Okay,
she's fully aware.
Okay, so who is Ms. Rickard, your lady friend? Who is she?
That's a friend. That's a friend of the family.
Okay, is she your age?
No, she's actually almost my mother's age. She's like an aunt.
Okay. I didn't understand you're referring to her as a lady friend. I didn't know if that meant something to you.
Oh no, well, I say that's how he typed it, but you know, because I call her a lady friend, a female friend, because I just don't call everyone an aunt. Like, you're my aunt if you're my aunt. If you're not my aunt, you're not my aunt.
Okay, well, you were quoted as lady friend Kim Rickard. Okay. So when my colleague was talking to you about, evidence of you changing, it's because we make these decisions about whether you're going to finish your sentence and your special parole out in the community, and we have to make that decision in light of the interests of public safety. That's our responsibility as board members. So when I look at, you've done some programs. After you completed anger management, you got a fighting DR. That concerns me. That says that what you learned in that program, you didn't use in that situation, and you engaged in a physical altercation, getting you a fighting DR. You completed problem sexual behavior treatment. It was an 8-week program that ran from March to May of 2024. And in August of 2024 is when the case came out that you have been in phone contact with a minor from the prison, and you got the second risk of injury conviction. So you took the program because you had violated with force a 14-year-old that you held in a hotel room, and now you're in prison on special parole, and you engage in inappropriate communication with a 14-year-old discovered by her mother. And it appears that the programming that you completed didn't bring about the necessary change. In your opening statement, you said you were trying to help this young woman stay focused. I don't know how you help her stay focused when you're asking her for pictures of her feet and underwear.
Okay, check me out.
I don't have a question here. I'm putting all this evidence into the conversation as we move towards making a decision. These are things that are red flags for me. I also want to go back to your conversation with my colleague about grooming. I thought your definition was interesting. You said nurturing for your own benefit. You know what that's called? Manipulation.
Okay.
You manipulated this child and then had the cognitive distortion that she instigated the sexual activity with you. She thought of you as a big brother. You'd been out of her life for a while because you were incarcerated. So, to add to your description of what she might have experienced and is still dealing with as a result of your choice to have illegal sexual contact with her, trauma.
Okay, excuse me. I'm sorry. With all due respect and honesty. Now, I practice my right, and again, I'm not trying to be combative here. You know what I'm saying? But I practice my right to cop out under the Alfred doctrine, meaning that I didn't agree with everything that was said. So I get it. You're going off of what was said, but again, I practice my right.
I'm
To
not
come
going
out
off
on
of
the-
what was said. I'm
Alfred-
going off of the
You're going off of,
documents that detail the investigation that the police conducted.
yes, police, yes,
including the
again,
interviews.
those are interviews and police reports again. And me, I practice my right to cop out under the Alfred doctrine, saying that I do not agree with everything that was stated in those reports. And as you're speaking to me right now, you're saying that I knew the person and I didn't know the person like at all. Like you're saying that you're saying, listen,
Contacted, you offered to take her to a trampoline park
Okay,
with
Miss-
your girlfriend
Miss,
and her kids, right?
Miss, with all due honesty, Miss, that's not how things was based. But you know what? I'm not around to be combative about it, because at the end of the day,
Okay,
I was
all right,
wrong.
so
I was
so
wrong.
you've
I was
admitted
wrong
to
for
the
just
hotel.
bringing her to the hotel. I was wrong.
Why would you bring her to the hotel if these things
Listen,
didn't happen?
I was wrong for bringing her to the hotel and
Yes,
having
you
any
were.
intentions.
It was
Period. I agree with
inappropriate
that.
to begin with, right? So
Yes,
why
I
did
agree
you
with
bring her
that.
to the hotel? What was your
Excuse me?
motivation? What was your motivation in bringing her to the hotel?
The motivation is we had
Sexual
contact. We
contact.
had, listen, yes, we
Sexual
had
contact.
illegal sexual contact. Listen, I agree. And it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? I agree with
Yep.
you. I'm not, see,
So
I'm
what
not
I
going, see,
think that I think you're missing, Mr. Williams, is that this incident you created for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, victimizing this child, you got convicted, you're in prison, you
yes,
participate in problem sexual behavior treatment,
Yes.
the short track 8-week program.
yes,
And after completing that program, you have another inappropriate relationship
Yes.
with a
yes,
14-year-old from prison.
agreed. And Miss, and amongst me filling out my parole papers, they asked me, what do I have to say about that? And that was a misunderstanding. You heard that? That was a misunderstanding. And you know what? When people make a statement, right? Like, I'm in jail for whatever, right? If someone out there, they make a statement on me, whatever, I can only do so much. You know, with all due respect. You know, the phone calls are recorded. They can listen to all the phone calls, because with all due respect, me on the phone, because I said, oh, you're going to Puerto Rico, send some pictures of Puerto Rico and the scenes at the beach and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, so that's like, at the end of the day, Miss, I get it. Our relationship, our friendship was not warranted, you know?
It was
But
inappropriate. It was bad boundaries. It was, criminal. And the concern that I have is that you went on to commit that offense after completing a program that should have helped you make better choices and refrain from the kind of grooming that then you started
You know
with
what?
the second.
And you know
victim.
what? And that's where the growth comes. Where does growth come? After you be honest with yourself. Sometimes, right, we go through a time where we're being in denial, you know, with ourselves. And around some period of time during my sentence, I was a bit in denial, you know? And
All right,
in order
well,
for me to
Mr.
change,
Williams,
in order
Mr.
for me to
Williams, it's
change, I
very
had to accept.
concerning to me because I was on your prior panel in 2021 when you were denied discretionary parole release for the assault first.
Mhm.
And now you're back violating the special parole with a host of new, very concerning violent charges. So thanks for talking with me. Thank you,
No
Madam
problem.
Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Mr. Williams, we appreciate your answers to our questions, sir. As I told you at the beginning, we're going to turn the hearing over now to our victims advocate, Ms. Vasquez, for victim input. We ask that you please just sit there and be respectful and just listen. Your time to speak is now over, and we're going to deliberate after we hear from this victim, okay? Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Vasquez.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. I had the opportunity to speak with one of the victims of the case, and they have asked me to read this statement on their behalf. And it reads like this. Dear members of the parole board, and I'm just going to use initials for the confidentiality of the victim.
Thank you.
My name is J.M., and I am writing as the victim in this case to respectfully ask that you deny parole for my brother. I was only 13 years old when my brother began grooming me and manipulating me into sexual encounters. At that age, I was just a child. I should have been able to trust my older brother to protect me, not exploit me. Instead, he used my innocence and vulnerability, my apologies, to satisfy himself, forever changing the course of my life. The abuse did not end when the physical acts stopped. I have lived with the emotional, psychological, and lasting effects every single day since then. Excuse me. It took away my sense of safety, my ability to trust others, and my childhood. I have spent years trying to heal from something I never should have experienced. Even today, I continue to carry the pain, fear, and trauma of what he did to me. What has made this even more devastating is that my brother has never accepted responsibility for his actions. He has never shown genuine accountability or remorse. Instead, he has manipulated members of our family into believing that I was somehow responsible for what happened. I have been blamed, judged, and isolated for the abuse that was inflicted on me when I was only a child. The betrayal by my own family has been almost as painful as the abuse itself, making me healing even more difficult. The possibility of his release fills me with overwhelming fear. I do not feel safe knowing he could be free. I know that if he is released, I will spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, constantly worrying that I could run into him or that he could find me. No victim should have to live with that kind of fear because of the person who caused them so much harm. For most of my life, I have lived with my father in New York City. About 6 months ago, I moved to Connecticut to live with our mother. For the first time in a long time, I have been trying to rebuild my life and find some peace. I would like to continue to live in Connecticut, but I honestly do not believe I could remain here if my brother was granted parole. His release would take away the sense of safety I have worked so hard to rebuild, and I would feel forced to leave my home out of fear. The sentence that was imposed reflected the seriousness of the crimes committed against me. Those crimes did not end with his conviction because I continue to live with the consequences every single day. My life has been permanently affected by his choices while he is asking for the opportunity to move on from them without ever truly accepting responsibility. I respectfully ask that you consider not only what he did to me as a 12-year-old child, but also the lifelong impact those actions continue to have on me today. His refusal to acknowledge the harm he caused gives me no confidence that he has changed or that he fully understands the devastation he has inflicted. I fear for my own safety and for the safety of others if he is released. I respectfully ask that you deny this request for parole. Allowing him to be released would not erase what happened, but denying parole would acknowledge the lasting impact his crimes have had on my life and help protect the peace and safety I have fought so hard to regain. Thank you for taking the time to read my statement and for considering the lifelong impact these crimes have had on me. I appreciate your time and your careful consideration of my request. Sincerely, J.M. Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. So we're going to deliberate. And you, again, you can sit there and listen. Please don't interrupt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate the victim taking the time to put her thoughts out, to be very open and vulnerable so that we would have an understanding of how she's still struggling. So Mr. Williams, he has a very long criminal history. It's a violent criminal history that includes assaults, robbery, multiple violations of release, including an escape. The new charges that he's before us today, sexual in nature with a vulnerable victim, a minor child, that it continues, I think, to at least get us to see he truly understands and appreciates not only how wrong it is, illegal it is, but the harm it causes the victim. He has, to his credit, taken a number of programs. He's has through communication participated. He developed a relapse plan for the sexual offender case. He was able to somewhat articulate some of what he learned in the Voices program and the TIER program. I think there's other programs that he would still benefit from. Domestic violence is on there. And did good intentions, bad choices. But it does seem that Mr. Williams still has some work to do. It's not quite clear that he has exhibited the level of offender change that we would hope to see, want to see, and need to see to find him suitable for release to discretion and parole. As been pointed out, he has a number of disciplinary reports, several within the last few months, that also indicate that there still is work to be done and change in terms of his behavior and attitude. I do think that Mr. Williams, has a plan to go back out in the community. I think he does not want to be incarcerated. And I'm hopeful that at some point he will find a suitable employment, a suitable place to live, and that support he needs and structure to be a productive member of our community. But for today, the fact that he was on special parole for an assault one when he committed these charges, and all that I've already mentioned, I do not find him suitable for discretionary parole.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri. Ms. Turner?
I'm in full agreement. The lack of change is perhaps my biggest concern. Because you can talk and learn and have the insights, but if you don't know how to or choose to apply them, then it's meaningless. And the being inside a correctional facility with special parole running and reoffending in the same nature, putting another child in harm, it's just too much.
I agree. So we have stated on the record that his special parole is running and it does not end until 2033. What are your intentions with regard to his denial? Are we denying with no new hearing date and having him finish this sentence, or are we denying and having him complete the remainder of his special parole? He does have 10 years of probation to follow this period of incarceration, so he will have some supervision. So that's our next discussion.
So there would be a 5-year overlap. If he went out end of sentence, he'd still have 5 years approximately remaining on the special parole while he was on 10 years of this new period of probation and the sex offender registry.
I mean, honestly, my concern is that the level of violence that has been displayed throughout, and it's a continued pattern, and it's very concerning to me. So, I mean, honestly, he was under supervision previously, and it really didn't do much of anything. So, I really do have him serving more time than just to the end of his sentence. Based on the behavior in the facility, the nature of these crimes, his criminal history. I mean, we didn't even talk about his static 99 score, which rates him as a low to moderate risk to recidivate, in addition to his high risk to recidivate with the other assessment tools. So, I mean, honestly, this is SRG too. It's all just violence. So I don't know what
Well,
your thoughts.
And I would acknowledge there's assaults, there's protective order violations, there is the violence, but there's also this pattern of predatory behavior that is far more subtle, targeting vulnerable children. And, that's just equally concerning to me. And when you asked him about why he absconded, it was this, he didn't get his way. He wanted to go to the sponsor he wanted to go to. And, there are very, I'm sure, valid reasons that Parole was putting him in the program they wanted him in for their supervision of him. And, so his unwillingness to accept that and work with Parole is concerning.
Yeah, the non-compliance piece is that's what it all boils down to.
I did not have him go to the end of his special parole sentence.
Okay.
I
I didn't have him going to the end
Yeah.
of his special parole.
What are you proposing then?
was proposing a year after his end of sentence date, 2029. I have him at 9/19/28
I
for
have him,
this sentence, unless I missed some.
This sentence 9/17/28. Yeah.
I have him, I would like to see him go at least until 2030. That's where I am, based on the level. That's just where I am, because I can't justify re-releasing him. He got 3 convictions.
One while incarcerated.
I'm not trying to punish him. I'm saying that
It is a,
it is a punishment, but it's also concern and for safety, in our community, based on his poor decisions that he's still demonstrating in the facility. Like I want to give him an opportunity to get back out there and start his life. I understand he has his wife and he has so much more life to live, and being incarcerated is stunting that. But being incarcerated and making continued poor decisions is also. I mean, that's where.
How about 11/26/2030, which would give 3 years of special parole
That's
while
right.
the 10 years of probation kicks in.
That's where I was, 11/26/30. That's exactly where I was. And I know that's 2 years beyond his date, but enough is enough. I just, how do you?
I was at 2029, but I'll go with minority for that.
Oh,
Yeah,
but I mean, we're all in agreement with the denial.
absolutely.
And
Can we go with nature and circumstance, injury and impact, defense on special parole, and inadequate evidence of a future change?
So I really think we should use criminal history.
Okay.
It's a big piece of
all of our discussion.
all of our decision.
And we also spoke extensively about his poor institutional adjustment.
Okay, well, then
So-
6 it is.
On special parole, nature and circumstance, you said?
Yes.
Injury and impact.
Injury and impact, nature. I have special parole, injury and impact, and evidence of change, criminal history, poor institutional adjustment, and what's the 6th one?
Nature and circumstance.
Okay.
Excuse me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Williams.
It's just 2 things that kind of bothers me a little bit. Is that, I practice my right to cop out on the Alfred doctrine, but then you're saying to me things that I didn't agree with, and that me and my attorney were fighting in court, almost went to trial.
So I'm going to stop you, Mr. Williams. So this is not a court of law. We're not attorneys.
Okay.
We are functioning and as a board who has reviewed your file extensively, and we have the discretion to make these decisions based on, as my colleague said, public safety. Can you just give me 1 minute? I'm going to ask that we please go into Not executive session, but recess, yes. Briefly, and we'll be right back, Mr. Williams.
No problem.
Thank you.
So do I just stay here?
All right, we are now back on the record in
Thank,
regards to the case of inmate Robert Williams.
thank you, Parole Officer Wendersmith. So, Mr. Williams, I took a brief recess because I wanted to make sure that we were acting within the scope of our responsibilities prior to us making an official motion. I understand you disagree with some of the aspects of your conviction, and you're entitled to do so, and we respect your plea under the Alfred Doctrine.
That's the only thing that had me a little. That's the only thing that had me a little perplexed. At the end of the day, like she's reading certain things, saying that like they were
Yep.
facts. Boom, boom, and at the end of the day, they weren't.
Okay.
But that's why I practice my rights under Alfred Doctrine. Boom,
Okay.
boom, and
But
then certain things that was said, like I didn't
Okay.
even know this female up until 2021. My mother was on America's Most Wanted. Just because she dated the father, don't mean nothing. I don't know nothing about that. All I know is that, man.
Okay.
I want to say,
So, Mr. Williams, I understand your position, and I mean, we do respect it, but we're looking at the behavior in totality. So please give us an opportunity to make our official motion and decision so that we can move on to our next to the next case. Okay?
no problem. It's just a little frustrating. That's all.
I get it.
That's all. It's just a little frustrating because. And then I hear about the history thing. Oh, this is only my third sentence of my life. It's only my third sentence of my life. And you're saying criminal history, you got guys that come in and out of jail over and 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 over. It's only the third sentence of my life.
Right, it's Mr. Williams. This is Parole Officer Wendersmith. I just want to advise you that you've been given ample opportunity to speak during this hearing, and Madam Chair has indicated that they would like to move forward with their decision. So if you can please respect that.
No, I'm sorry. It was just thoughts that's in my head because I keep on hearing history. I've been in jail one time fresh out of high school.
Yep.
I've been in jail one time after
Yeah,
that.
but Mr.
And then
Williams,
this time,
at
like
this point-
seeing history.
Mr. Williams, at this point, I'm giving you a direct order to please refrain from interrupting while the board members continue to discuss your case, okay?
No
Thank
problem,
you.
man.
Thank you very much.
So with regard to Mr. Robert Williams, 331273, I'm going to make a motion to deny discretionary parole based on the nature and/or circumstance of his offense, his criminal history, his poor institutional adjustment, inadequate evidence of offender change, the injury and impact to this victim, and his offense being committed while on special parole. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I further move that Mr. Williams will not be released from prison back onto his special parole until November 26th of 2030. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. So I've stated the denial reasons. I've stated the parole date. All those, I know that the record will reflect that panel member Smith Palmieri agrees with the denial. She disagrees with the re-parole date. But we're going to set the following conditions for his special parole, which are, I have no contact with JM. There's a protective order until 2043. There's also another protective order for MGR until 2080. I have no contact with minors, no contact with the victim of his underlying offense, which I show as two people, WN or KB like boy. I have problem sexual behavior treatment, enhanced monitoring for electronic devices, mental health evaluation and treatment as deemed necessary. Halfway house, just in case that's needed, and also no consumption of an alcoholic beverage. Thank you very much.
Second.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Williams, we've denied your discretionary parole. You'll finish out your current sentence, but you will not be re-released until November of 2030. We've set your special parole conditions, and we wish you the best of luck. Good luck, sir.
Can I just question or no?
No more questions.
All right, cool.
Yes. Yes,
Thank
you
you.
are all set. This concludes the parole hearing for Robert Williams, inmate number 331273. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi. You tell Mr. Figueroa, or are you guys okay if we just go down the list? Because she said no one has to.
It's fine.
Yeah, we'll take Mr. Figueroa if he's still there.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Figueroa. We're gonna get started with you in just a second, okay? Officer Wanderson, today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, and this is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they've reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm panel member Barry.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Nancy Turner.
Also in attendance this morning is our board psychologist. Sir, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Tommy Figueroa, 369388.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Tommy Figueroa, inmate number 2369388. He's serving a sentence of 5 years flat with no probation to follow for possession with intent. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of March 13th, 2026. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan in place. It has been reviewed and shows that at this time he has not completed any programming. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score and the SRT falls within the very high range risk for recidivism. Mr. Figueroa, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
Good morning. Yes, I'm trying to make parole. Like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm getting back in school. I'm gonna try to do the program that I'm supposed to be doing. Trying to get advantage of everything that I can right now. Something that I never did before. I was thinking different about what was going on in my life. I learned English in here. And my English not that good, but I get in there. I always try to take the best of what happened to me. I know I did mistakes before. I want to take the time to leave down the past and get a better future.
Okay. Well, Mr. Figueroa, we appreciate your opening comment. And we appreciate the efforts that you've made thus far towards your rehabilitation. What will happen here is each of us will take turns to ask questions. When we're done with our questions, we will deliberate and give you our decision, okay?
Okay.
I want to wish you the best of luck, and I am going to start with your questions. So I've had an opportunity to review your file and some of the news articles that were related to this offense. And do you know that you were coined the shift boss of this organization? That's what they called you, the shift boss. You're the one who made sure that someone was outside selling drugs at all times. Is that true?
Yeah, I was doing that before.
And it also said that you were when you were in trouble for this, that you had your girlfriend continue selling the drugs for you while you were fighting this case?
Nah, that
That's not
one,
true?
I'm not sure. But that's what they say.
Okay. But your girlfriend did receive time for this case as well, right?
Yeah.
And so I understand that you were not working out in the community. Why?
I was taking the SSI and I was so stupid that I was thinking about making more money on the street than while I was
So-
supposed to be getting a job.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you just go and get a job?
Be honest, it was hard and be on the street. I feel like I was getting easy money. That's why
Right.
I decided
You're
to
making
do that.
easy money at other people's expenses.
Yeah.
Do you know what harm you cause with selling drugs in our communities?
Yeah, I know I heard a lot of people about that.
How?
Yeah. Like, I know it's not right to do it, and I learned all that stuff, and I really meet people that were selling drugs in here before. While I came in here, I know them from the street, and now I realize that all the damage I did to them and their families, and even to my family too.
Yeah. So, Mr. Figueroa, you unfortunately have a history that dates back to 2009. And it appears that you really have not had any stable employment since you've been out in the community. And I'm concerned because you want to compensate for your lack of income by hurting other families and other people who probably need the money that people are spending on drugs to pay their rent or to pay for their health insurance or to get their kids clothes. So I'm interested in knowing what will be different. Your release plan included your returning back to the community and collecting SSI. That's the same thing that you've been doing. So what's different?
Now I've grown up more, and all the time that I've been here, I've been thinking about, and I've been talking to like mental health, and they've been helping me out with all this. And now I try and get a job and be focused on my family. Before I was more young and stupid. I never think about the damage I was doing to people who that got to me.
Yeah. And you haven't participated in any of your programs listed on your offender accountability plan. So, and I saw that you also received 5 disciplinary infractions for refusing disobeying direct orders, security tampering. Yeah. Why aren't you listening in the facility?
That was on the beginning before I had sentenced. Then my lawyer told me I don't have to go to court. And every time he's supposed to put, do not transfer me, and they always calling me. And every time I refuse and go to court that
Why?
way. But
Why?
he told me I don't have to go, but
Who-
he never write it to the jail. And every time they call me, I deny go to court.
So what was the security tampering ticket about?
I was using somebody's PIN number in the beginning when I came in.
And it doesn't matter if you were sentenced or not when you got tickets. The fact of the matter is that you were in the facility and you were not complying with the rules.
Okay.
So you were out in the community selling drugs. I see you have federal conviction attached to this sentence where you have to serve 66 months with the feds. It was originally consecutive, and then they changed it back to concurrent. Why did they change it? Did you ask for it to be changed?
Nah, it's on the beginning always was consecutive, but they told me here they put a was concurrent, I think it was. They were running
concurrent.
both together. And then out of nowhere they changed it and put in consecutive. And I make a call to my lawyer and he said it's supposed to be concurrent, not consecutive. And then they fix it.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of drugs that you were selling out in the community were just, it was just very, very concerning. We voted you out to parole back in 2013 and you did well. I don't understand how you went from doing well to right back in the same kind of behaviors.
But honestly, where I would needed money and at that time I don't have no place to live. It was easy doing what I was doing.
Yeah, those sound like excuses. I mean, you're not the only person who have fallen upon hard times, but it's your criminal thinking that leads you into believing that you can sell drugs in the community at the pace that you were and not be caught, you know? It's your part, you play a large role in that vicious cycle of addiction. Because if people didn't sell drugs, we wouldn't have drug addicts, right?
Yeah, you're right, but I'll never be like trying to play like I'm a victim. I know I'm not a victim. I know what I did was wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad. So you have to do something about it, though. You have to do some more work on yourself, sir, because you haven't taken any programs. You don't have your high school diploma. Your sentence is not complete until 2028. You have time in there to go back to school, learn a trade. I know you like to work on cars, get some sort of certification as a mechanic. There's things that you can do to improve your success when you're released out of the prison.
Yeah, I'm doing a program right now. I'm a mental health program. I started NA, but on the beginning when I started NA, they moved me out of different prison, and I got control about that one.
Well, that's because you were getting tickets. So,
that's why I was in Corrigan. I started the program, and then they sent me to Walker, then they sent me back over here.
Yeah. Okay.
And now I'm doing a mental health program.
Hopefully now I'm glad you need that, but you also need some other stuff too. You need some vocational help. Try to get your high school education.
I already did all that, but the only thing they say here, oh, you're on the list.
Okay, good.
And I got control about that.
No, you don't. But I'm saying that you need that, regardless of whether or not you have control.
Yeah, you need it, but you're not gonna force me to do it, but they don't got nothing to do it here. And I can be, I want to go, but they got the last choice.
They do. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, thank you for speaking with me, Mr. Figueroa. Ms. Turner?
So, Mr. Figueroa, when you were interviewed by the parole officer, you were asked about the crime you're convicted of, and you told the parole officer that you were only using and not selling, but you do admit that you were selling.
No, I admit I was selling, but the pill that I was using, it was my personal use, and I was selling the pills. That's what I say to her.
Okay, you said you were only using and not selling.
Yeah,
And they caught you doing some controlled buys. So you do have 3 years of supervision with the feds to follow this sentence.
Yep.
I hope you'll take that seriously. What I read, we've talked a lot today about you committing these crimes for easy money, you know, because your disability income wasn't sufficient to support you. But what
Yeah.
I read was that you were selling because you had a lot of free time on your hands.
I guess that was one of the part too that I have more free time.
Okay. So it's like my colleague saying to you, you need to prepare for making some changes when you're back in the community. And that would involve developing interests, vocational skills, so that you have ways to occupy yourself out in the community, things to do that you like doing, so that you don't have all that free time that bad influences and poor decision-making can fill, and then bring you back to prison for your third period of incarceration. That'd be pretty sad.
Yeah.
Why'd you have the guns?
I was having the gun to protect myself, but I was having problem with people.
Okay, where'd you get the guns?
Be honest, somebody came and sell it to me. I guess it was cheap.
So you bought a gun. You
Yeah.
bought two?
Nah, I just bought one and the other one was somebody else.
Okay. Did you go to a firing range and learn how to handle and discharge that weapon?
No.
But you thought you could keep yourself safe with a gun you didn't even have any training with?
Yeah.
Okay. You understand how foolish that is, right?
Yeah, I understand.
So you started your statement by saying you're getting back into school.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You're on a wait list?
Yeah, they always put you here on the wait list. I right to
Okay.
get back right in the school right away. But they say, oh, we got a long list, you have to wait.
Okay, so getting back into school isn't up to you, but it's something you desire
Yeah,
to
it's something
do,
that
and something you could do in the community too, another way
Yeah.
to fill your time.
yeah, that's something that I decided to do, finish the school and get it back to find me a mechanic job. That's what I like to do. That's what I was doing before catching my new case. After I finished my first case in 2009, after I finished that, I was working in a little garage, making a couple dollars. That's why it
It's a
took me a
nice-
long,
Yeah, that's a nice,
made me a long time
plan.
to get me a new case.
okay. But while you're under supervision, you can't be working under the table. You need to be earning a paycheck and paying your
Okay,
taxes. You know, it's the adult thing to do.
yeah, I understand.
Mhm. How do you get a GED out in the community?
I guess you're going to school, but I having problem learning disability. I don't know how to read or write Spanish or English. I learned a little bit how to write and read in Spanish.
They can still help you
Yeah,
get your diploma.
yeah, I can still
They work
work
with
on that.
people with all different skill levels, and you're doing great with your English.
Yeah,
So-
I learned a little bit, and be honest, to finish the school, I'm missing like 4 credits. But I
Okay.
never did it. I guess I was stupid. I was getting the
Well,
pills and stuff.
You
and
had different
I get in my
priorities.
mind.
You
Yeah,
had different priorities, but if you're just 4 credits short, finish it up. You know, you can do
Yeah.
it.
yeah, I'm feeling I'm not getting younger, getting old. I want to have a family and continue coming to jail. I'm never going to have that.
So because you have the burglary first conviction back in 2010, as a felon, you can't possess firearms or ammunition, and that's true for the rest of your life. You
I
know that,
understand.
right?
Yeah,
Okay, now you have this federal conviction, so you really need to make better choices, Mr. Figueroa. I wish you much
Yeah,
success. Thanks for
Yeah, thank
talking
you.
with me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Ms. Palmieri?
I don't have.
Thank you. So, Mr. Figueroa, we have no further questions for you, so we're going to deliberate. You can sit there and listen, but please don't interrupt, and then we'll give you our official decision, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
So, Mr. Figueroa has not completed any programs, and he has received a number of disciplinary infractions. While I appreciate his candidness with regard to his rationale for selling the drugs in the community, that does not negate the impact and the harm, or the level of impact and harm that it has to those families and loved ones of those struggling with addiction. I'm glad that he's in a place where he's getting the help that he needs with his mental health. And I'm also glad that he has taken the initiative to participate in NA. I do not believe that Mr. Figueroa is suitable at this time. He does rate out in terms of risk to recidivity is very high. At the level for which he was selling these drugs, and so much so that it reached the federal level, they really had to be watching him, is concerning to me. That based on inadequate evidence of change, inadequate program participation in the tickets, had me voting in to deny discretionary parole, and I don't have him come this time.
I agree with what you've said. I also have Mr. Figueroa denied. He has 2 years remaining on this sentence. And then 3 years of federal probation to follow.
Sorry.
Mr. Figueroa,
Your hearing isn't over yet. You can have a seat.
No, I'm good. I don't need nothing out to listen. I get you guys making your decision. I get on set.
We haven't made our decision yet, Mr.
We're still
Figueroa.
talking.
Oh, it's the same thing. I know what's gonna happen. So
I'd be willing to rehear him in a year. See if he can bring about the change.
I also do not find
but that can
suitable today. And I did not have him coming back. I actually thought the time that he had could be well spent with the programming, getting a good release plan in place for himself, which will hopefully provide him an opportunity, a better opportunity for success in the community.
I'm going to amend my position, given the fact that Mr. Figueroa has chosen to leave the hearing before we've made a formal motion and decision. I am not interested in a rehear.
Okay. The reasons for denial you have?
For institutional justice, same as you had.
Okay. Inadequate programming, inadequate evidence of offender change?
Yes.
Do you have anything else?
Nature and circumstance. I mean, this was a multi-agency operation, and this was a drug factor.
Thank you, officer. We're still talking about Mr. Figueroa, but Officer Wangersman, you want the next person or?
Yeah, officer, if you want to get Mr. Henry, if he's available, he can enter the room. We're just finishing up.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So with regard to Tommy Figueroa, 369388, I'm going to move that discretionary parole be denied with no new hearing date for the following reasons: nature and circumstance of the offense, poor institutional instruction, inadequate program participation, and inadequate evidence of offender change. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the record should also reflect that, as Ms. Turner stated, that Mr. Figueroa exited the room prior to our final decision. Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. This concludes the hearing for Tommy Figueroa, inmate number 369.
I request very brief comfort break.
Yes. Mr. Henry, we'll be right with you. We're going to take a 5-minute comfort break. So give
Okay,
us 5 minutes. If you have a statement prepared, you can get your, nope, you can sit there.
okay.
If you have a statement that you've written that you want to read to us, please pull it out and be ready to go when we come back, okay?
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Defendant, if you are ready to proceed. Good morning. My name is Parole Griffin. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026. This is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Parole.
I can barely hear you.
I will try to speak louder. I'm sorry. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certified they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, I'm panel member Barry.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Nancy Turner.
Also in attendance this morning, we have our board psychologist. Sir, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Anthony Henry, 190-294.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Anthony Henry, inmate number 190-294. He's serving a sentence of 8 years flat with no probation to follow for possession with intent and criminal possession of a firearm. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of November 14th, 2025. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan in place that has been reviewed and shows that he has completed voices in tier 2 since his last parole hearing. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls in the high range risk for recidivism. Mr. Henry, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
Right now, I've currently completed all programs that was supposed to be followed, and I was given the option to complete CTVIP for my pistol possession. In that program, I gained a lot of interest in myself. I learned from the aspects of what to do and how to do and what I should have been doing, and I respected that. The judgments that I did was not really me, but I learned from that in due time. My thing is right now, the reason why I would like to have parole is because of I'm getting older. My son misses me. I've learned from my mistakes, and I'm gladly ready to repair my debt to society. Because as I say, it's like I've learned so much with all this certificates and stuff that I did that I didn't know that I could do. So I had to dig in myself to pull out the Anthony Henry that I am, not to the Anthony Henry that I perceive to be. So with that, I just would like a shot.
Well, thank you, Mr. Henry, for your opening statement. And I was on your prior panel who denied you a few months back. And
Yes.
we did ask you to go back and do a few things. And I'm happy to see that you were able to comply with our recommendations. I won't be asking you questions today, but my colleagues will. And when we're done, we will deliberate and give you our decision. Okay?
Okay.
I wish you the best of luck, and Ms. Turner will start with questions.
I appreciate it.
Morning, Mr. Henry.
Good morning.
So I read several letters that were in your file, your apology letter to yourself, and then a letter you wrote after your denial where you were pretty frustrated
Yes.
with the board's decision. So where are you with that today?
Right now, yes, I was kind of like disturbed because it's like I didn't know what was on my OAP until you guys told me I had to do voices. It was never acknowledged to me that voices was a program that I had to take, because only thing that I knew was to do was, do things that I felt I needed to change. I had a behavioral issue. I addressed that. I had a learning disability. I addressed that. I got into cosmetology. That was always something that I learned how to do since I've been incarcerated, since I had my number. So that was just me doing my basic norm. Doing a program was something that was educational to me to find out where I went wrong, to stay in tune with my inner me, to understand that drugs and violence don't go hand in hand. So at that point, it was just the fact that I had to dig in my toolbox, look at my tools that I had, and apply them to me. Once I did that, I learned that I could have been used these tools, but I didn't have the right manner to do it. So now I gotta adjust it. So within this 51 months of me being incarcerated, I adjusted, and it brought me a long ways. Because this is the first time I came to jail to do any type of imprisonment time, and I actually did programs, not one, but several, and I learned from them.
So in the long run, it was a good thing.
Yes, and I really appreciate them telling me to take Voices, because Voices was a program dealing with the addiction. My addiction was making money to provide for my family. The drug part, I really didn't have that much of an impact on me. That was just like a weekend thing. People, places, and things. That's what it talks about in Voices. The people, places, and things that creates a change in the physical being. To have you cloudy your judgment or doing things sporadic. I didn't have
Did I read that you relapsed on PCP because you were going through a divorce?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe you have an addiction?
That time, yes, I did. And still today, I still struggle with that. And that's the thing that I was gladly facing, that I had to understand that that was just a judgment call mentally. It wasn't from the enemy. It was a mental thing. Being around certain people, certain times, doing certain drugs.
Okay. So both an addiction to the lifestyle.
Yes.
And
yes.
a physical addiction to the drugs themselves.
Yes. The
okay.
lifestyle and the people's places and things. Yes.
What are your things?
Basically not working, trying to find money, trying to, come up with a different resource, an outlet to get money. That's like, if I have a job stable, which I had, because I worked with Honda for the last 7 years, that job wasn't overturning enough once I got my divorce, and that's where everything started like clouding my judgment. I wasn't really looking inside my
next time, Mr. Henry, that you find you're living beyond your means, you're spending more than is coming in, how are you going to deal with that?
First of all, I'm doing a lot of research on that as we speak. That's the reason why I took the course Financial Advisement, because I didn't know how to deal with the finances. Dealing with a divorce, it comes strenuous outcomes that I wasn't focused on, because I didn't know I had to give up half, then I had to take on half. The responsibility part was overwhelming for me, because I didn't have no family members that I could relate to.
So what have you learned from the financial studies that you've undertaken that's going to help you plan to be able to live within your means?
Just like you said, live within my means, live within my budget, set a budget, stay by the budget, and stick to the plan. If I make $700 a week, okay, put part over here to pay these bills, put part over here to eat groceries, with so on and so on. I didn't really.
Have you ever had a bank account, Mr. Henry?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So the other pot that you maybe were going to get to is savings. You got to have rainy day fund for,
exactly.
If you get injured on the job, or
exactly.
your son all of a sudden needs,
and
something.
That's the thing. And that's the thing I was basically stuck with, because my son has fibromyalgia. His medication costed a lot. And then on top of that, I got a heart issue. So everything hit me at once, and I ain't want to play the blame game. She ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. No, I had to take responsibility on what was on my plate and deal with it, because I was in a rut, because I just don't have one son, I have 3 kids. So
yes.
by me taking
the others
care
are adults. But let me ask you this. So somebody tipped the police that you had a firearm.
Yes.
You had the gun because you were doing what?
No,
selling?
The gun, no, not at all. I caught my drug case first. The bad was my sister's gun. She left it at my house because we was going to get my car from me being arrested for my drug charge. So when I got home, she had just dropped me off and just left. So by me walking the gun back to her house, because I got keys to her house, she'd been tired. She'd been working all day. I'm just bringing back what she left over there. I got arrested because I almost got robbed before I got arrested. You know what I'm saying? So my
Well,
thing was,
at the hearing last September, you said you had the gun because you successfully completed a gun safety course and were in the process
Yes.
of obtaining a gun permit for a gun that was
Yes.
your sister's?
no, it was hers. I purchased the gun. So the whole thing that I was doing, I was registering the gun to her name. So I had the gun in my possession when I got arrested. Yes. So
Okay,
I
but
was giving.
You're a convicted felon. You're prohibited from having a firearm. You have prior convictions for guns.
And this is the case in point. I was trying to get my record expunged, like I was trying to tell them. But then I did the gun class, and then I was waiting for my answer if I had my gun permit or not. So at the same time of me having all that
Get your
information,
record expunged. How was that? What's the process for getting your record expunged?
my lawyer was Leopold DeFusco. He was helping me with that,
Doing what?
getting my record expunged, because a lot of things that was on my record was past due from 1990 on. And we was in 2000 something, it was like far as 30 something years ago. So I was trying to take care of that along with everything else that I could get expunged. So,
Okay. Well, it's called applying for a pardon.
and that's what he was doing. And that's the reason why I applied for the pardon. I applied for my gun permit, but I had to take the gun safety course first. So I finished the gun safety course.
It's a little bit putting the cart before the horse, because if you didn't get a pardon, if you weren't granted a pardon, then you still would be prohibited from having a firearm. And you shouldn't have been practicing at a safety range with a gun that you weren't legally allowed to have.
I understand
Right?
that. I understand
Okay.
that.
All right, so moving on to the time since your prior hearing, you've done well with both programming and employment. You still working in the,
Yes.
okay, so you get excellent evaluations in that position. And then you've done some vocational training.
Yes.
Cosmetology, are you becoming a barber?
I've been cutting the hair since I was 17, and I'm 52 now. I'll be 53 next month. So cosmetology was something that I took it as a jail hustle to make ends meet and to survive in here if I couldn't get a job. And then I turned it into a morale thing. I tried to open my own business when I was home.
Okay.
Then I came to jail, and they changed the barber's license to everybody that's a barber that needs a cosmetology license. So I don't have $15,000 to come home with and start, you know what I'm saying, doing everything I'm supposed to do. So while I'm in jail during this time is a 2.5-year course. I've been in the course for damn near 3.5 years. And I just got all my certificates right here.
That's great, because, really, Mr. Henry, at 52, it's time to start doing things the right way, isn't it?
And that's the reason why the last time I asked for help, and I'm hoping, in the same way I'm asking now, I'm asking for help, and I'm hoping. That's the only thing I could do.
Talk to me about what you learned in Tier 2 about PCP.
PCP is a drug that affects your mental, and also it affects your bloodstream. So your bloodstream affects your heart. It's a thing that is a psychiatric drug. You think one way, and then you react different. I know that without doing, the program, but it messes up your functions, your lifestyle, your thinking ability, and your vision. As right now, it's like me being at this age is starting to mess with my ability of seeing. It messes with my heart, and everything is deteriorating. So the drug itself is, how would I say it? It plays on your mental, and it makes you think drastic. So everything that you think positive, you will have a negative result. So if I was to get high right now off PCP, my reaction would be thinking positive, but the outcome would be negative. I think it's a psychiatric drug, or however you pronounce that. So that's,
Well, let me cut to the chase here. So PCP does permanent damage to your brain
Yes,
in ways that your brain cannot recover.
yes,
So you literally lower your IQ using PCP, and we don't know the long range effects as people age. But what you're
Exactly.
telling us here is that there are many consequences from
Yes.
vision
yes,
to memory,
yes,
and it's a very dangerous drug because it is so destructive to one's brain, the structure of your brain.
exactly.
So it's concerning that that would have been your go-to after, facing the hardship of a divorce. Do you have a relapse prevention plan now that you've completed tier 2?
Yes, I do. My relapse convention deals with a person of a program that I've been dealing with him, texting him, calling him, and there's a structure. Melvin Palmer. I've been dealing with him for 16 months, verbally. So he's
And
like
how
a
do you
coach.
know him?
I met him through a friend of mine that they like really speak to each other on if he want to relapse, that's the go-to guy. So I've been speaking to him for 16 months, and then I, shared my views and my values with him. And he told me, listen, I'm going to help you. If you need support, call me, text me. I'm here. He had an outreach program reach out to me. Is OIC. I think you should have, you know what I mean? They told me that they are willing to help me because I'm passionate about certain things that they like, and they want to work with me on my insights on how I want to project. Like I told them, I want to open up my own drug program on what I've been through, what I've, lived, and help whoever that needs the help that I needed. So he was like, I support you on that, and I respect you on that. He said,
Do you
so
attend AA or NA meetings there in the facility?
we have our own AA and NA in the honor unit that we do Mondays and Thursdays. It's just a selective few guys that we sit there, talk about our issues and relapse prevention and whatever we could come up with to help anybody else to outreach. It started
Are they
off as,
actual NA meetings?
it's not an actual NA like in the facility because during the times of NA, I'm at work. So I do the in-house, and because I'm in the honor unit and we have all our
Have you
programs.
ever done NA when you were out in the community?
Yes, it was a part of my parole in 2009 when I was home. I did that for 6 months, and then they told me, they gave me these little coins, and then I felt that I like NA. I don't really drink. It was just the drug part about it. So the NA
That's
part.
why there's NA.
Yeah, so it's just like I
Have you
did
ever
that.
worked with a sponsor through NA?
No, I never had one.
Okay. Do you know anything about CCAR?
Melvin was talking about it. He said that's something that I would have to get out and really apply myself to.
Have you ever worked the 12 steps?
No,
Do you know what they are?
not offhand, no.
Okay, it's the foundation on which NA and AA are built. It's the 12 steps that you work through to address addiction and embrace recovery. And when you get to step 12, you start all over again because you're in a different place going through the steps each time you go through them. But it's more that, NA is more than sitting in a room, listening to other people share.
Yeah. And
It actually needs to be about working on yourself and figuring out why you became addicted to PCP, cocaine.
I know why I became addicted to PCP and cocaine. It was my choice because I wanted to experience, because everybody, like I said, the people, places, and things. I wanted to experience the high that everybody that was around me doing. I didn't like it at first. But then again, at certain times, to alleviate myself from BS or, problematic things that I couldn't deal with, that's what I resort to. Let me smoke this a little bit and take the budge off and try to handle it. But it just
it's an avoidance. So you were using it to avoid life and reality and responsibilities. And
exactly.
So I read that you don't have any contact with your son. How will you establish that when you're back in the community?
For the last 14 months, my son cried every time he see me and every time we spoke, because his birthday is coming up in the 18th of this month. And he told me how this hurt him because he was mad at me. So I told him, because he thinks I'm in school, because that's what his mother told him. So I broke it down and told him just 2 weeks ago, I said, listen, Pop, I'm not in school. I'm going to tell you the truth about where I'm at. He was like, where you at then, Dad? He said, because if school has a recess, how come you don't come home on recess? I said, that's the thing. I can't come home. So his questions were just like yours. Why will we give you parole? He said, why you can't come home? I said, because I'm waiting on parole. He said, what's parole? I said, parole is a sponsor that, you know, looks after me, and I got to take care of my duties to maintain my freedom. So he was like, so when are you going to get that? I said, whenever parole gives it to me. He said, do I got to call him and tell him to give it to you? I said, no, that's not that easy, Pop. So what do I got to do? There's nothing that you can do. It's something that I have to do. I have to find the words. I have to find the right resources. I have to find me to present to them that I'm eligible for it. So he was like, are you eligible for it, Dad? I said, listen, I've been fighting 51 months to be eligible. So if I can't be eligible, then we got to worry about what I got to do from here on out.
We use the word suitable.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a fatherhood program?
Yes.
It's great that you've been honest with your son, and it's very sad, you know, that he's doing this time with you, isn't he?
Yeah. See, this is the only reason why it was my choice just to do phone calls. But then again, the phone calls, you know, the way the phone calls run, some days I get a full 15 minutes, or some days I get a quick 2 minutes. Then the phones is down. Wi-Fi sucks. So I asked his mother, she was like, are you really ready for this? I said, the only reason why I'm saying I'm ready, because I want to attempt to try. Everything is video visits. So he was
So
happy.
I just want to say a few things in wrapping up, Mr. Henry. You have 5 years on the deadly weapon offender registry.
Yes.
You are a convicted felon, so you're prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition until you get a pardon.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, don't put the cart before the horse again.
No.
You know, please focus on doing things the right way. You know, like, don't start barbering without a license. Don't drive without a license. You know, those. So my last question, sir, is what are your priorities?
My priorities right now is already set up. If I were to be released today and tomorrow, I could go back to work for Honda. You can see that? This is my job that I was working with. They said they'd take me back, but no strings attached, because I was a great worker. Then I have Melvin. He has 3 barbershops that's interested in me, and they're interested in my portfolio, because I did a portfolio for cosmetology that I sent to 3 halfway houses and to Melvin. So Melvin distributed that, and all great feedback came in. Right now in this jail, I'm the most responsible person for everybody's braiding hair, everybody's haircuts with the braids, and a lot of people.
Get back to your priorities.
That's
We've
my
got
priority.
work and barbershop.
Mm-hmm. That's basically what I'm focused on. Starting my own podcast and my own barbershop.
Where does your recovery factor into your priorities?
That factors in with this, because it's all included as a package. Because the barbershop that Melvin got for me, the dude that runs the barbershop does all types of programs, and I gotta go through him to get situated.
Well, I really expected recovery to be the first thing you said, maybe your son the second thing, but you know, you'll have to work that out for yourself.
The
So,
only, the only
thank you,
part,
Madam Chair. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Ms. Palmer?
I have nothing further.
Mr. Henry, I don't see the letter. I see a termination of employment letter from Honda. I don't
yes,
see an offer of employment from Honda.
no, that's where I worked at. The reference was verbal over the phone. That's the reason why I showed you the Honda letter, because it took them 8 weeks to fire me. And my boss and everything is right there. Michelle, everything, the extension is everything. So that's the reason why I referred back to that, because I spoke to them and they told me they have a spot for me when I'm ready.
Give us a few minutes to talk about your case, sir. We'll give you all to see. Please don't interrupt. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Turner.
So as we've pointed out, this is a rehear for Mr. Henry. Since the prior hearing, he's completed a couple programs, done some vocational work, maintained a job, and not received any new DRs. So he has a flat sentence, and this would afford him 3 years of discretionary parole. He's about 50-50 for success on supervision out in the community. Now he's 52, so hopefully he's more focused and has, you know, some insight and emotional self-regulation. So I would be prepared to grant him discretionary parole.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Ms. Palmer?
I would as well. I hear vendor change from Mr. Henry. Certainly given a lot of consideration to what he needs to be successful and productive in the community, has support. So I would be in favor.
I have standard parole conditions. Are there any?
It has the conditions.
All right, so with regard to Anthony Henry, 190294, I move to grant discretionary parole on or after today's date, July 8th, 2026, with standard parole conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Henry, you'll receive all of this in writing shortly, sir. Congratulations, you've been granted parole.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck to you, sir.
This concludes the hearing for Anthony Henry, inmate number 190294.
Who would you like next?
Mr. Medina, please.
Who's that?
Mr. Medina. Javon, yep.
Good morning.
Good morning, we'll be right with you. All right, good morning. May we call off the Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, and this is the hearing of Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Following board members are present this morning by stating their names on the record, certify they reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, panel member Barry.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Nancy Turner.
Also in attendance at today's hearing is our board psychologist. Sir, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Javon Medina, 415371.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Javon Medina, inmate number 415371. He's serving a sentence of 9 years, execution suspended after 4 years, followed by 5 years of probation for criminal possession of a firearm and illegal possession of an assault weapon. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of December 16th, 2025. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan in place. It has been reviewed and shows that he has completed new thoughts and he's currently participating in tier 2. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls in the high range risk for recidivism. Mr. Medina, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I thank you all for the opportunity to be heard today. I did prepare something in writing only because I know it could get a little overwhelming and nerve-wracking, for lack of better words, and I want to make sure I don't leave nothing out. So first, I would like to say I take full accountability for my actions. I understand how one wrong decision can negatively affect not only myself, but my family, my wife, my 3 kids, and also my community that I serve. Why was I in possession of a firearm? The truth is, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but for the last almost 3 years, I've had a lot of time to reflect. And with God first and constantly examining myself, I realized that bad company really does corrupt good morals. And I now see being faced with temptation as an opportunity to make the right choice. I've never been a violent person, nor am I perfect. And while that does not excuse my actions, being faced with adversity has allowed me to develop a good character. I've demonstrated those qualities by engaging diligently in groups, sharing struggles, and becoming an outlet for individuals who show that their eagerness to change. I'm currently enrolled in a college course through college correspondence, where I'm receiving my associate's degree in Christian theology. I've also briefly established myself back into the community for a 2-month period while out on bond after 2 years. In that short time, I immediately retained my job back at serving the community as a garbage truck driver for CWPM. I was able to attend church services and Bible studies for 4 days out of the week with my wife and kids. I spent as much time as possible enjoying how much my kids have grown and how smart they are. My daughter Eden is now 2, my son Azariah is 3, and my oldest son Javayas, who is autistic, is 4. And they all mean the absolute world to me. So you can only imagine how difficult it was for me knowing in 2 months I would be leaving them again after 2 years to go back in for sentencing. But by trusting in God and maintaining focus on the man that I've become, I continue to press towards being the best father, husband, and version of myself. So that, along with the great family support system that I have, I look forward to picking up where I left off on December 16th, 2025. So with the help of parole supervision, there will be that much more confidence and reassurance that I will thrive, not only as a father and a husband, but as a member of the community. Thank you, guys. God bless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Medina, for that statement. We appreciate the time that you've taken to write that out, to make sure you got conveyed to the board what it is you wanted us to know. We do have some questions after reviewing your file. Each of us will take turns asking those questions, and when we're done, we'll deliberate and give you our decision, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Best of luck to you, sir. Ms. Palmieri will start with questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Medina, I did appreciate your opening statement. And you have been seems to me you've been working on yourself throughout this incarceration. I specifically am always interested when somebody's out on release on bond, how they conduct themselves in the community, you know, how they choose whether to be productive or to try and, you know, get back at things. But it seems like I was happy to read that you made some positive choices while you were back out there, even though it was a small window.
Absolutely.
So that's a step in the right direction. I do need you to tell me again, though, because why you were in possession of this weapon.
So at the time, I guess, you know, having clouded judgment, you know, being around the wrong individuals, I was out on maternity leave from work at the time, and I just had too much time on my hands. And, you know, they say the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So, I mean, I just started getting around the wrong people, and I made a very stupid decision, you know, and I regret it, you know, and I didn't have no specific purpose to have it or to need it. You know, I guess, you know, maybe it was a thing of feeling safer with one. I don't know why. I wasn't running from anybody, but I know ultimately I made the decision to have it on me, and it was a costly one, you know. And that's all I really can say, because I really didn't have any specific reason for having one, you know?
I don't know if that's worse or not. And the fact is, I mean, it's a lot of ammunition, firearms, my colleague always asks about people's training to possess it, and then you have children.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
the risk is just great there. And then there were some drugs in the car too when you were arrested.
Yeah, I was actually at the time using somebody's car, and I take accountability for my mistakes. I should have never put myself in that position, and I should have never been in that, around that crowd. So I take accountability for my actions and my part. I could have made a better decision to avoid all of that. And
Yes.
it didn't occur to me until after the fact, so like I said, reflecting on those things, I realized how I got into that position and how I can avoid it for the next time. Because, and like I said, bad company corrupts good morals. I was on the right path. I was actually involved in the church. My wife's a Christian. Her parents are the pastors. I made a very big change in my life at the time. And I guess it just started like, the time on my hands, I went around the wrong people. I don't know how it happened.
I gotta stop because I'm interested. You keep talking about all this free time. You were out on paternity leave. Didn't you have a small child that you were caring for?
No, so she was pregnant at the time, about to give birth. So they gave me like 2 weeks off of work, and it was literally within that within a few days after that, that I, made a decision to hang out around the wrong people. And it literally happened so fast. Like, like I didn't plan to do any of these things,
So now I have another question. When you say it happened so fast, give me a time frame. 2 days, a week, a month?
Yes. So being off of work, it was like 2 days. They gave me 2 weeks, and within the first 2 days, I made a decision to, I needed a car at the time, and it came along with, and I just, I made a bad decision.
We're always, or maybe it's just me, a little impressed when somebody can get their CDL. It's a lot of studying.
Yes.
There's the driving test. Gosh, so many people are unable to pass the driving test. And here you are, good job, probably have benefits, probably some, retirement with that. And then you engage in this illegal activity and are willing to just risk it all.
Yeah, that took a lot of time for me to ponder on. And, like I said, for these last almost 3 years, I really reflected on that. And like I said, I've noticed how I got myself into that. And I made all these steps and took all these steps examining myself to realize I can never allow myself to be put in that position again. My kids were so little at the time. I still was growing up. I was 25 at the time. I'm still just changing. I got involved. I gave my life to Christ. It was a lot. It was very overwhelming. I was dealing with so many battles. My old life was still trying to creep up on me. I was just leaving from that, and it was a very learning experience. I feel like everything does happen for a reason, because who knows what could have happened to me out there, you know what I mean? Or when I was doing.
And you were on special parole when you got arrested?
I was 1 week away from early termination, yes.
Okay. Throughout your interview with Parole and what I read, you talked a lot about drifting and bad decision making, and I don't know what else to say about that. It's just incredibly disappointing for somebody of your age that had accomplished, getting your CDL, had a good job, good taking care of your family. It's nice to see when individuals are able to make those changes in their life.
Yes.
But now you have to start over.
That's right.
All right. So you took the new thoughts. I was happy to see that you took that. And I read that you said it helped you with problem solving and coping skills.
That's right.
I'd like to know if you can give me an example of using those skills at the facility anytime in the recent history here.
So a lot of the guys know me here. I'm a very spiritual person. So I've been able to like identify when somebody's going through something, and like I said, being an outlet for them. So I've held like Bible studies and on the recreation periods. That's how I maintain to, get through this difficult time in this difficult place. And just, the ones that, that you can see that are outcast, that they don't talk to a lot of people. I know what they're going through, and I've been able to be that, beacon for them, just sharing their struggles, because I know I've been through it too. I know what they're going through. And I've been able to project that, what I've learned from these groups and what I've learned from my mistakes onto those who also may have needed and just don't know how to open up to people. I've always been an easy to talk to person, and yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for a second, Mr. Medina, because I'm happy to hear that you're able to help others with what you've learned from the class. I want to hear how you have used these skills to keep for a problem that has occurred at the facility, where you were able to use that thinking through your problem solving techniques. Is there something kind of quick you can tell us about?
Oh, yes. So one of the things I've struggled with maybe is, anger. And I've learned how to just, breathe and think before I act, instead of just acting on impulse. I've learned, different skills to be able to like identify. I'm not going to act off emotion, but I'm going to think before I do something. And I've came a long way. I can say, honestly, I've struggled a lot with anger, and I've been able to, even with some of the officers and some of the, the inmates in here, I've been encountered with situations that were, difficult, and I've been able to maintain my composure and just avoid situations and, keep focusing on what's more important now that I'm a father, and, that just bettering myself all the way around. So constant examination is what's been taking place, throughout this incarceration.
All right. So talk to me about this disciplinary report. It was only about 6 months ago. Sounds like you did not have control of your emotions or your anger.
So I've always been one to take accountability for my actions. This situation, I just came in, sentenced. I knew that I had parole coming up. I thought it would have been quicker, but, it wasn't. But I had no intentions of making any mistakes. I came in with a clear mind. I was focused. I, at the time, had a cellmate who was coming from a federal penitentiary, and they put me in the cell with him, and he was in state. I was sentenced, he was not. So there was a dispute between him and the officer. We were in the cell. So there was a dispute between him and the officer, and they were all riled up. Me on my bunk, just minding my business, he ultimately covered the cell window. So that became they didn't know what was going on behind the cell door. So when the lieutenants came up, I ended up having to take the worst end of the stick, because I was in the cell with him at the time. And he was telling me, don't worry, I know you got all this going on. I'm gonna tell him you have nothing to do with it. And it didn't work out like that,
Okay. So let me ask you, and that's pretty much what was written, give or take a little. But reflecting back on it, what you know now, how could you have handled that differently for a different outcome?
I could have talked to him. And I said that to my wife. I told her about the situation. I could have definitely tried to talk to him to de-escalate him. I just was more, I guess, I just came in, and I guess I was just more like worried that if I try to be the one downplaying it, or try to de-escalate it, maybe it would turn on something with me and him, and then it'd actually be something like a fight or something. And I just really didn't want to engage in it. So at that time, I really just wanted to try to just stay away from it rather than try to de-escalate him, because he was all fired up, and I could have definitely handled it better. Looking back at it now, I could have tried to de-escalate the situation.
How much longer do you have to go in tier 2?
Tier 2 ends on the 22nd or the 20th.
Okay, so you're close to finishing that. Is it
Yes.
helpful?
Yes, it's very helpful. I'm actually in I'm actually in a maintenance period right now. I did struggle with marijuana usage and briefly with opiates, with popping the prescription pills. I'm in a maintenance period right now where I've been in recovery for about 3 years now, so I've been able to do that with, my faith, with spirituality, and just being close to those who hold me accountable and who always keeping me in the right direction, keep me on the right path.
Are you, when you say you're sober from marijuana as well?
Yes. I can't drive I can't drive I can't have a CDL and use marijuana.
Right, and are you working? I had a note that you're a janitor on the unit.
Yes. I've been a tierman now for almost about 2 months now.
You were on special parole when you got arrested. And would you do bond out after that?
Yeah, so I was in for 2 years, and then my EOS was in September of 25, and I ultimately bonded out so I can be there for my kids. They were getting older. His birthday was coming up, and I just didn't know what was going on with court. And they were like, I had no court dates, so we made the decision, me and my wife, to bond me out. And I got right back to work. I went right back to my job. They love me there. I've never had a problem. I've always been the first on the job and the last one to leave, and always my community, they know me because I pick up everybody's trash. And I've always had good reports. So I got my job back immediately, and I just try to spend time with my family and, be there for my kids' birthdays. My youngest and my oldest son, their birthdays fall around the same time, September and November. So I got to do that, for a little period of time, and I got to be there. And, ultimately I had to come back and, finish the remainder of my sentence.
Okay. And your release plan is to return to living with your wife and your children?
Yes, we have an apartment. We're both on the lease. We live there with our kids. My oldest, he lives with his mom, but I get him on the weekends. And yeah, just going back to the same house. I've been there for probably about 4 years now.
And how much longer do you have to go with school? Will that take a while once you're?
So my college correspondence right now, I've already spoke to this about with the professor. It would be quicker when I go home. It takes longer through all the, mail and all that. So it takes like 2 years to finish in here. But at home, it'll keep me, that'd be something else that's going to keep me, busy doing that and implementing that with the church. So yeah, that's part of my plan too.
And you're going back to your job with the same
Yes.
company? Okay.
Yeah, CWPM. Yep, correct.
Very good. And we have a number of support letters from family, friends.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm just mentioning that we do have them.
Thank you.
All right, so when the parole officer asks, what will be a high risk situation for you, and you say associating with the wrong people.
That's right.
Tell me what could be difficult for you back in the community.
That's my main, that's the main, struggle that I've been able to identify with and, find ways to make sure I avoid that. So just like, if I'm going to try to keep using up my time as wisely as possible, working, being with the family and, schooling and all that. And with the church, that's a big one. But yes, being around the wrong crowd tends to, I've seen that it had an influence on me. I was younger at the time. My kids were younger, so I've came a long way from that. So I know now that it's not much of a worry for me now because of how much, I've grown from that. But at the time, yes, I've seen that being around the wrong people definitely played an influence on me.
Okay. So if you're going back to live at the same spot, the same neighborhood, you say you've been there for a few years now, have you given some thought to how you're going to be able to avoid, as you put it, drifting back?
Yeah, so my plan
that you spoke about?
Yeah, so my plan is working enough because I want to buy a home, which I was in the process of. So I want to work, keep myself as busy as possible, working with the church and doing this college correspondence, and ultimately buy a house, maybe, not too far from the town because I have my oldest son that lives there, but, just far enough to keep, a safe distance, just so that doesn't even present itself, that opportunity doesn't present itself.
Okay. I mean, I think working and staying busy, congratulations if you can, make things work to buy a house. It does take some time though.
Yes.
And in the meantime, those people will still be milling around hoping that they can convince you to, drift over again.
Absolutely.
So what are you thinking?
I know how to avoid those situations now. I wouldn't even have open the opportunity to hang out or, too much conversation. I'll try to control the conversations just by saying, hey man, I've done it before. I was just a little younger and I knew how to avoid certain situations. But once my mind state changed and once I drifted off from what was important, because my kids were so young at the time, that's where I messed up. So as long as I maintain that same thinking and putting God first and letting them know, listen, this is where I stand. I'm on this path now. And, they tend to respect that, they do respect it. So they'll say, yeah, we respect that. But if I engage in it and give light to any type of hanging out or whatever, then that would be where the problem lies.
All right. I'm going to just leave you with this. The New Thoughts program, as we talked about before, it should be helping you think about what the consequences of of your decisions, help you, parse out what direction to go. What if you choose A, what happens? If you choose B, change is hard. People expect you to be the same. So being able to problem solve, think about the consequences and what those outcomes are, that's the skills we all hope that you take from programs like New Thoughts and even from Tier 2. It's about choices and decisions.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Medina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri. So, Mr. Medina, I just want to point out a few things. One is that from the time that you returned to the prison, which was in August of 2023, up until you bonded out in September, you accumulated 9 disciplinary infractions. 9. Yes. And then when you were finally sentenced, you received another one. I count 3 of your tickets was for intoxication, one in May of 2025, March 2025, December 2024. What were you using?
So at the time I was using Suboxone because I was on the program when I was home. And that's comes with the opiate struggle that I had. And I know it's not right to use it in there when you're not on the program. I was facing a lot of hard times in there, ups and downs. Being in the cell and missing my kids' birthdays. It was tough,
Okay. Okay. All right. So the substance was Suboxone. Those were the intoxicants. And so remind us why you were on special parole. What conviction have you received?
While on special parole?
No. Why did you have special parole attached to your sentence?
There was criminal possession of a firearm and it was possession of narcotics. Possession of narcotics or hallucinogen.
Then this would be your second gun conviction. All right?
Yes, yes.
And then you told my colleague, in your opening statement, you said, I've never been a violent person. And my next question is then, why was there a protective order issued against you back in October of 2018?
So at that time, I had an assault third and concurrent with my case that I did not know about. I was more focused.
What was the assault third pertaining to?
It was for a domestic. And I did the DV program. I had a girlfriend at the time that alleged that I put my hands on her because she was trying to avoid her own thing because she had a warrant and she ended up doing 5 years. So I really didn't even know that I, pled guilty to that along with the other more serious charges that I was really more worried about. So ultimately I had to do a DV class for that on the last incarceration,
Yeah, and you
which was my
also,
first.
you also did tier 2 during your last period of incarceration.
Yes.
So, I mean, you sound good here today, but I can't help but think and point out the glaring similarities. You had a substance abuse issue. You knew you shouldn't have been using drugs in the prison. This wasn't your first time there. You come back, not just when you spoke with my colleague about one ticket as if it was just one poor decision, but you've been making poor decisions up until that point. And then, when the officer asked you about being in possession of the gun, you said that, you said that it was somebody else's car. I just looked at the interactions while you were speaking with her, and it says that the officer saw you in this car and they had stolen plates on them. And so you said that you knew when the officer asked you, you said you knew that there was a gun and drugs in the car, but you took it anyway. You weren't dealing drugs.
Exactly. So yes, that was the mistake that I made. I
But
ultimately
you just
take
told my
accountability.
colleague that you were selling drugs. So which one is it, is my point.
No, I never was selling. I never said I was selling anything. I made the mistake of involving myself around, these people. I never was convicted for selling anything. I never was. They did an investigation. They said they did an investigation, but they never, it was they seen me, they heard something that I was in a certain car, and they see me in front of a place of business and just ran on me.
Tell you what it says, because I looked at, I have to keep telling people that we really do our homework.
Right.
And so, you had a parole officer, and your parole officer puts in notes. And I'm
Yes.
almost certain that within the interactions, it talks about officers seeing you conducting hand-to-hand transactions, and you tried to flee from them. Okay. All right.
Yeah, no. So the police report, I went over it a lot of times. So they only say that a confidential informant said that I was in possession of drugs and a gun. They never corroborated any of that information. They only see me at a place of business, and they said that I manipulated an object on my waistline to be a firearm. So that was their reason for coming, trying to attempt to contact me, which they came with guns drawn saying, "Don't run," which I didn't even know they were police at first because they were in a regular unmarked car. It was detectives, and they had their guns drawn. So I briefly ran, but when I noticed it was the police, I put my hands up and stopped. They never at any point seen me dealing any drugs or doing anything of the sort. I was in front of a barbershop waiting for a haircut, and I had the car parked in that parking lot. Not once did I ever sell any drugs, and it wasn't even, the drugs that were in the car weren't, even that, quantity for sale. They just made it that way to, to make their case, and I get it. But, that's why I took the accountability for where I was wrong at, for being in possession of these things. Because yes, I did make the choice. I did know they were, I knew there was a gun. I had it in my possession, but did I sell any drugs, or did I intend to harm anybody? Did I intend to do any of the things that they alleged? No, I did not, and that's from the bottom of my heart.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Medina. Ms. Turner?
It's all a little jumbled for me. So you borrowed somebody else's car, but you knew there were a gun and drugs in the car. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay. So at what point did you take the gun out of the car and put it in your waistband?
When I got out the car to go into the barbershop. So I ultimately kept it on me to not leave it in the car. You know what I mean? Because I was ultimately responsible for it, in other words. And I just didn't want to leave it behind in the car while I was, in the barbershop.
Okay. So at the same time that you were on special parole, you knew you were on the deadly weapon offender registry,
Yes,
and you knew that as a convicted felon, you were prohibited from having firearms and ammunition,
yes.
and you did all that anyway.
And yes, yes, and that's the things that I've reflected on for these last almost 3 years. And I know I made a big mistake.
No, these were choices that you made that were criminal in nature. And what it says to us is you had no regard for the law and for the conditions of your supervision. And I have to tell you, Mr. Medina, I was on the panel in 2020 that granted you discretionary parole.
Yeah.
I won't be doing that again. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Turner. So, Mr. Medina, we appreciate your answering our questions, sir. We're going to enter into deliberation right now, and you may listen and sit there, but please don't interrupt, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. So as we talked at length about why Mr. Medina is here, he's got these 2 new gun charges, and there were some drugs involved that he was not charged with, but they are still involved. He's serving this 4-year sentence. He was on special parole, and he's got probation to follow. He does score high risk recidivate, and he has taken appropriate programming to address what has been identified as his risks. He does have, as I say, completed new thoughts. He's finishing tier 2. He's been working, also trying to further his education through online schooling. It is very unfortunate that Mr. Medina finds himself divorced once again, as he's made some very poor decisions. He has had some struggles at the facility as well. I do appreciate that he did go back out in the community and try and support his family, go back to his job. I think for today's purposes, he has a solid release plan to go back to live at his home with his wife and children. He still is able to go back to his prior employment, he says. I think the fact that they took him while he was out on bond is hopefully a good sign that he remains in reasonably good standing with them. I do think that Mr. Medina recognizes the gravity of his poor decision-making. And I think that a term of parole could be useful for him and the probation period to follow. So I do have him voted to discretionary parole today.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri. I think I said it in my comments to Mr. Medina. I think that he sound good today. I really do think that he has taken this opportunity to reflect on his actions and try to figure out a way to navigate life going forward without committing crimes. At least we know that that's his desire. I'm not sure that he really has been able to apply or what he's learned just yet out in the community, because he was only out there for about 3 months before he was actually sentenced. But I will not be in support of Mr. Medina's discretionary parole today. The disciplinary infractions coupled with his offense being committed while he was on probation, this being his second weapon conviction. I'm sorry, thank you. It's special parole, yes. This being his second weapon conviction. And, you know, the propensity for violence being there, even though he denies the domestic violence offense, there is an active protective order until 2099 with another victim, with a victim. So while I can appreciate all of his efforts towards rehabilitation, I do not believe that he's suitable at this time. So my vote will be to deny discretionary parole. Ms. Turner.
So Mr. Medina was fortunate in that, you know, he got a 9-year sentence with only 4 years to serve, despite coming back on a gun charge. And his last sentence was 4 years to serve, and he was afforded, you know, the opportunity on discretionary parole before beginning special parole. And here we are again with a new 5-year period on the deadly weapon offender registry. Back out in the illegal possession of a firearm. And, you know, when we make these decisions in the interest of public safety, his choices are extremely concerning, you know, loaded gun, knowing full well that he was prohibited. I'm glad that he has 5 years of probation. We're talking about a 13-month difference between today and his end of sentence date. And that seems like there's still more that he could do there in the facility. But it's a no for me today. Nature and circumstance offense on special parole. I'd like to do inadequate evidence of offender change.
I hear some evidence of change. I would rather do for institutional investment. Like I said, he did receive 9 disciplinary infractions.
Yep.
So I don't have him coming back for a new hearing. So I'm going to move that Javon Medina 415371 be denied discretionary parole based on the nature and circumstance of his conviction or his offense, his poor institutional adjustment and his offense being committed while he was on special parole. You will not receive a hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Aye. Thank you. The record will reflect that Ms. Palmieri was in favor of Mr. Medina's early release, and you'll receive this in writing, sir. Good luck to you.
This was a hearing for Javon Medina, number 415371.
I can write that one.
Owen, right?
Right, can we do Mr. Teal, please?
No.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So I might halfway.
All right, good morning. Oh, good afternoon. My apologies. Good afternoon. My name is Parole Officer Weigertzman. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, and this is a jurisprudence hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Present this morning are the following board members.
Panel Member Barry, good morning. Good afternoon, sorry.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Nancy Turner.
And also present this afternoon, we have our board psychologist. Mr. Teal, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Eric Till, 356749.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted because the board has received information regarding past conduct, which may require participation in a behavioral management program for problem sexual behavior. Madam Chair?
Thank you. Because the history that we are going to discuss involves confidential information, I'm going to move that we go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The board will now go into executive session and we will be back shortly. So just give us a few minutes. Mr. Henry, we're going to wait for Mr. Till, we're going to wait.
Mr. Teal, can you ask the CO to come back in for a moment?
Is that a CO?
The CO.
That's me. It's a little bad.
So I'm gonna write this.
No.
Lady says she would like to see you. But she wants to speak to you.
And they want to see me?
Yeah.
Hello, officer. So the board would like to speak to Mr. Teal off the live stream, so I'm gonna need your help with the tablet. I'm gonna hang up this call and send you a new invite in just a moment, and you can press accept when that pops up on your screen.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yes. And you on bus?
Yeah, I guess. I think I could leave now.
No, not yet. Not yet.
You all set? You need me to press something or?
But bring my daughter up later. I can see my baby. I miss her. She just turned 4 too. The other day I bought her the little Power Wheel card.
Thank you, officer.
Thank you. Okay, so
Executive session,
thank you.
or out of the executive session back.
Okay, so we are now back on the record, and although I didn't vote to go back into to come out of executive session, I'm gonna make that motion to come out of executive session. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for assisting me. So we're now back on the record, and in the matter of Mr. Eric Teal, 356749, I'm going to move that Mr. Teal be required an assessment for problem sexual behavior prior to the scheduling of his discretionary parole hearing. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right. So Mr. Teal, after reviewing all of the information available in the hearing your testimony today, the board has determined that an evaluation for treatment for problem sexual behavior may be required prior to, an evaluation will be required prior to the scheduling of your discretionary parole hearing. At that hearing, the board may decide to require you to participate in problem sexual behavior treatment in compliance with any related clinical recommendations regarding that treatment as a condition of your release. You may also be assigned to the special management unit for supervision. Once the evaluation and all the other statutorily required documents have been made available to the board for review, your discretionary parole hearing will be scheduled. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So you should be hearing from someone at the Connections relatively shortly. And then once you're done with that evaluation, they should be trying to schedule your discretionary here. Okay?
So that's just for the regular thing, or like
Yes,
how
that's
does
for the
that work?
regular. Yep. Once we get the evaluation from the Connections for the treatment facility as to whether or not they believe you are required to participate in treatment, that will be forwarded to us, and then we will review all that information and have your discretionary parole hearing and determine whether or not the treatment is necessary. We'll let you know that, okay?
All right, so is it a date set again, or will I be notified with that too?
There's no date set yet. So now that you've had this hearing, it's one step in the process. So we
Okay.
have this hearing, now you'll get the evaluation. Once the evaluation is done and completed and sent to us, and we have all your documents, all those dockets that you have, we need the police reports for. So we have to make sure we have all that stuff all together, and then the officer will let you know when your actual hearing will be, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes the
Have a good one.
jurisprudence hearing for Eric Teal, inmate number 356749.
You need to see, you don't need an officer again, do you?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay.
Over the other side. Another person. I'll let you out in a minute. Yeah, hold on.
Hi, I know, you guys are you able to call it Mr. Cohen now?
Yeah, I got him in another room.
Oh, you do already?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll bring him in
perfect.
now.
You can bring him right in. Thank you.
Right there.
Are we live?
I think so. I see you guys. I didn't know if you guys could hear me yet.
Yeah.
Because I don't see the red stuff or
Yeah.
the side
One
box,
second,
or,
Mr. Just have to double check. Sorry about that. All right, let's get started. All right, so good afternoon. My name is Parole Officer Wangerton. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026. This is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Following board members are present this afternoon, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
good morning, good afternoon, I'm panel member Barry.
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Nancy Turner.
Also in attendance this afternoon, we have our board psychologist. Mr. Cohen, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Andrew Cohen, 440200.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Andrew Cohen, inmate number 440200. He's serving a sentence of 15 years, execution suspended after 5 years, followed by 35 probation for larceny third, promoting a minor offense performance and possession of child sexual abuse material first. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of November 25th, 2025. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan in place that has been reviewed and shows that he has completed voices. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls in the very high range risk for recidivism. Mr. Cohen, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
Okay. I came in 3 years ago and I was a heavy methamphetamine user. I have struggled my whole life with depression and anxiety and have not gotten the right treatment that I need. I have been in, as I've stated, 3 years, and I haven't been able to get any of the treatment that is required. I'm in PC, protective custody, for being extorted and because of my charges, and they don't offer the sex offender treatment that is required on my OEP. I really want to get help. I want to do what I can to change the person that I've shown everybody, and it's not the person that I like. I am ashamed of me being in here for what I'm in here for. I am not a bad person. I've never, ever hurt anybody in my entire life. I myself have been abused as a child and more recently as well. And I would like to show everybody that I can get better and that this isn't who I'm gonna be for the rest of my life, because this is not a road I want to go down. It's a road that has caused me so much pain and so much loss. I've lost family members, I've lost relationships, I've lost everything. The only people I have left in my life are my family. I have nobody that was there who I thought was my friends or who I thought would ever support me in this. My mom has been here since day one. She has helped me through all of the trials that I've dealt with being incarcerated. You know, I'm really scared. I'm not gonna lie, to go home. That is my biggest fear, is that I'm going to slip up, I'm gonna relapse. I don't think I'm ever gonna do what I did to get here, but I do worry about my addiction. But as I've talked to Wen Gertzman and my family, that I do plan on going to NA if given the chance. I plan on doing anything that you guys can offer me, because I want the help. I want to do anything I can to get better, because as I said, I don't want to grow up to be this person. I'm 25 years old. I don't know what my life has in store for me. I've done my GED since coming to jail. I've done 3 out of 4 tests. I'm working on the last one. I do plan on continuing my school education when I go home. I'd like to go to college at some point and focus on either business or agriculture, because farming and animals have been my passion since I was a kid. I don't want this to be a revolving door. This has to work. I cannot come back to jail. This is not who I am. I do not like where I see myself right now. And I don't like having my parents see me like this. The shame and the sadness I see from them kills me. And it kills her. I'm adopted. I'm their only kid. And this is, I have hurt them so deeply that I didn't realize. Jail has taught me some really hard truths and some really hard lessons that I don't think I would have learned any other way. But I've been in jail 3 years and I haven't gotten any of the help that I need.
Okay, so Mr. Khan, I'm just going to interject here because you're starting to repeat yourself, and
Right.
I appreciate all the information that you've offered us today. And I'm glad to hear that you have family support and they continue to support you regardless of your decisions. I just want to caution you, because this is a live stream hearing that people will be able to rewind and read in over and over again. So while I appreciate all your honesty and your being, telling us what's going on with you mentally and physically, I would refrain from being so detailed about any of that stuff, because we want to just, no, it's not, don't be sorry. We want to protect your privacy as well, your privacy, okay?
Right, okay.
All right, so what will happen here is each of us will take turns asking you questions. We reviewed your file thoroughly, and we do have some additional questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we will deliberate. You'll be able to sit there, you'll be able to hear our concerns, our thoughts, whatever it is, and then we'll give you our official decision. Okay?
Yes.
All right, good luck to you, sir. Ms. Turner, we'll start with questions.
So, Mr. Cohen, we have received a letter dated March 13th, 2026 from the state's attorney in Stamford opposing the granting of parole to you. And it details the specifics of the crimes for which you're serving this sentence. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Okay.
You took the Voices program and you indicated to the officer when you were interviewed in preparation for today's hearing that you didn't learn anything. Why do you think that was?
I think because it wasn't directly addressing my crimes. I know that I have messed up. I know that what I did was so wrong and so just vile, in my opinion, because I hate who I am. I am trying to get help that directly affect my charges in any way that I can. As I've stated, I'm in PC.
Okay, I'm going to direct you back to the question. You learned nothing in Voices, even though the focus was on all kinds of victims and what victims suffer. You learned nothing.
No, that's not what I meant when I said that to her. I learned that my actions are a snowball effect, and I have hurt more people than just myself. And as I've stated, I've hurt my mom. And the kids in the videos. My heart goes out to them because I was affected as well for child abuse. And there are so many different variants of abuse, whether it's elder abuse or child abuse or just abuse in general from relationships. So I have learned that aspect of things.
So this went on for some period of time. You were actively sharing images and videos, and participating in exchanges, conversations that were sexually explicit and, quite frankly, very disturbing to read. Why?
I lacked friendship. I lacked a need for attention, I guess. Being adopted, I was an only child. I wanted friends so badly. When I was 13, I was raped, and it connected me to pedophiles, unfortunately. And me engaging with those people made me feel seen. Not in a good way, but it was still being seen. And I thought that was what was normal to me. That was normal behavior for me because I was so, like, my wires in my brain were so twisted at that point that I didn't know that I didn't.
Okay, well, let me ask you. You shared with us that you were victimized, and I'm sorry to hear that you suffered at 13. Help me understand how you became so fixated on infants and babies.
Honestly, I don't know where that originated. I know as a kid growing up that I had some child abuse. Like you can tell in my body language and how I acted that I was abused as a child. I had a thing for diapers, which were kind of like a teddy bear for me. It made me feel safe, and it made me feel like I wasn't going to be hurt. As I got older, it became part of my sexual fetishes, I guess you can say. It was never the kids themselves that I was getting off to. It was I would put myself as that child. And when I would have these conversations with a lot of these people, I was taking the place of them. That's honestly, that's the only thing I can tell you. I want to see a therapist to kind of delve deeper into that because I've never had a trauma therapist.
Okay, so you don't have a full understanding of that particular fixation, or as you called it, a fetish. Right. Some of the exchanges, the conversations, if you will, with the other parties indicated an interest or a desire on your part to corrupt so many lives. You went on to say things like these infants depicted in these images and videos deserved the violence and violation that was committed against them. Can you explain saying such a thing?
I think a lot of it was me taking out my frustrations out in these conversations. I felt as if that's what happened to me, and everything I said was fantasy. I would never ever act on anything I've ever said. But as I think growing up, I felt that way. I felt that I was corrupted. I never got to be a kid. I grew up so fast, and talking to these people, I saw that it got them off. So I would say things that kept them engaged. So I felt a part of something, even if it was not in a good way.
Where were you living at the time?
So I was living at home. That was like my family's house, but I was never home. I was couch surfing most of the time. Like I said, I was a methamphetamine user. So I couch surfed.
Hold on. So you were in your family's home when you were doing the exchange and viewing of child sexual abuse material?
Yes, at times, but that wasn't my main place of where I was looking at it.
Okay, where was the main place?
There was a house that or apartment rather, in Newtown, on Newtown Road. Actually, it was in Danbury.
Whose apartment was it?
Yeah, there was an apartment that I knew a guy who lived there, and he was into the same thing. And
Where'd you meet him?
I met him on Telegram.
So you had indicated to Officer Wangertsman that you had ongoing use of cocaine and fentanyl.
No, not fentanyl. I did use cocaine. I did a lot of uppers. That was my choice of drug of choice. Methamphetamine was something that I was actually addicted to. Everything else was just fillers if I didn't have that.
And how are you supporting this drug use?
People were just giving it to me when I would go to have sex with them. I basically was a prostitute.
Was your position at Dunkin' Donuts your most recent legitimate employment?
Yes.
What was the incident over which you quit that job?
Me and my the boss didn't see eye to eye. I wasn't coming in right away. I was always late. I just wasn't getting the orders right. I couldn't get everything perfect, so people were complaining, and I just left. I didn't go back. I was embarrassed. I just couldn't handle that at that point.
And was that in part because you were under the influence?
Probably yes. That was probably a big part of it.
You indicated that a high risk for you to reoffend is certain people. What does that mean?
I'm afraid of people that I can run into. Like, I really couldn't just pinpoint it. Just I know a lot of people in Norwalk, and I know when I was out on bond, people had made comments about death threats, and people were going to come after me, and I was really worried about that. I also worry that people are going to come to my house and either try to come after me or to sell to me, which are one of the two things that I really worry about. But me and my mom have talked extensively about plans in place to keep me away from those people that I worry about.
Have you reported any of these threats to the police?
Not yet, because I'm not home. I don't have anything right in front of me. I haven't been online, so I haven't.
So how are you hearing about these threats?
Well, when I was out on bond, I saw it. And then when I came in, I ran into several people from my hometown that said I have hits out on me. I didn't take any of it seriously because I don't have any, it's hearsay. You know, I didn't want to report it until I know for a fact that this is going to happen to me.
But the police would do the investigation to know if it was an actual threat.
Right.
If you were concerned for your safety.
You're right. I should have.
Right, because if you wait until it's verified, it might be verified in the most unfortunate of ways.
Right.
So I just received an email from our psychologist. I'm going to suggest that we go into executive session because he is disclosing a lot of confidential information that really shouldn't be privy to the entire world. So I'm going to move that we enter into executive session to discuss confidential inmate information. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Cohen, will you please go get the officer?
Lopez? The panel's looking for.
Hello. Hi, officer. We're just gonna do the same thing as before. I'm gonna send you a new call in a moment if you can just accept that.
Okay.
Because I would ask her. I'm sure.
Should be also, yeah, see them. Right.
Thank you. We're back on the record with Mr. Andrew Cohen. 40200. We are now going to deliberate on the record. You can listen, Mr. Cohen, but please do not interrupt, okay? Your portion of hearing is over. Ms. Turner.
So Mr. Cohen is fortunate to have a strong support system. We received many letters. The situation is very concerning, the nature of the crimes. And what's happened since he's been incarcerated. He has a year and a half left on the 5 years he has to serve. He'll have 10 years of this sentence over his head when he goes out to 35 years of probation and 10 years on the state's sex offender registry. Based on the nature of his current housing, he does not have access to the programs and services that he needs. It's his substance use score and history of abuse of substances is deeply concerning, given that he has not really engaged in the level of treatment that would help him achieve and maintain recovery and teach him the tools. And the fact that that substance use was entirely enmeshed in the criminal behavior he was engaged in. He has made some poor choices while incarcerated with disciplinary issues. And he scores very high for his risk to reoffend. I assume the right thing to do for Mr. Cohen is to grant him early release to discretionary parole. It's something that I'm uncomfortable with. So I'd like to hear from my colleagues.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Ms. Palmer.
Thank you. So I agree with Ms. Turner with already everything that's been said in terms of his risk level, his time that he has left on his sentence, his years of probation. What stands out to me is that Mr. Cohen, I do hear, I don't want to call it offender change so much as I do hear a person that wants better for himself, a person that is hoping that he will get treatment, wants to get treatment, and is willing to participate in any level of treatment to help him. He has a long mental health history that we were able to discuss at length in executive session. And I'm not a professional, but clearly it has affected how he's lived his life and how he has gotten here today and how he's been taken advantage of at various times in his life. He is trying to do some of the right things. He said he's mentioning working on his GED. He has goals for himself in the community. He has support in the community through his family. The state's attorney is opposed to his release, that was stated on the record earlier. I think the support that he seems to have in the community outweighs that for me. He's had some struggles through his disciplinary history. I think that's been addressed by his current housing. And in my view, his current housing prevents him from any, what we generally see in terms of offender change, meaningful offender change through programming. In my view, that's the best resolution for today's hearing is to release Mr. Cullen to discretionary parole. He can go home to his parents' house. That's been confirmed. He's certainly able to be employed if that is if that's what happens, and can be worked around treatment. But at this stage in his sentence, treatment is really appropriate, and it's clear it's not going to happen at the facility. So it's really just housing him, which I think is not appropriate at this time. So I am willing to vote in favor of granting discretionary parole, okay, based on the need for treatment that we know will happen in the community, and he's not going to be afforded that, as far as we know, as he stays in the facility due to his housing.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri. So for me, and I appreciate all of your insight and, your perspectives, both of your perspectives on after reviewing and speaking with Mr. Cullen. For me, I see things just a little bit differently. While I understand that Mr. Cullen is ill and he does require a level of treatment that he may not receive while he is in the Department of Correction care, his issues go much deeper, much than any, the level of treatment that he's going to require out in the community, it's going to be for years. It could be potentially for the rest of his life. While I'm happy to hear that he's gained a better understanding of where this all stems, that doesn't negate the fact that he has not addressed his substance abuse problem, which he was just using drugs in September of last year. Hasn't even been clean 1 year. He stated a number of times that that's his way of coping. That's his coping mechanism. I really feel that this is more I can't wrap my head around his wanting to self-harm and his wanting to he called it a fetish, and I just can't wrap my head around the nature of this offense, his mental health, and his substance abuse all being connected, and it spilling out into his committing crimes is basically what I'm trying to say. I hope that was clear. While I understand that he won't get the help that he needs in there, I really feel that he's also a risk when he's out in the community, because either he's not being properly monitored, his use on the computer at 13 years old. It's all very concerning. He rates out very high. He received 8 disciplinary infractions, has no treatment. And for me, those are reasons to vote to deny discretionary parole today. He will receive the treatment that he needs at some point out in the community, but I just don't feel comfortable saying that I believe that he's suitable for discretionary parole, and he hasn't done anything really to address any of his needs. So that's my position.
So Madam Chair, I share your concerns. And for me, this is about risk mitigation. And the only thing that gives me some level of confidence is that he'll be under the sex offender management unit. Parole will be deeply involved in his case for a number of years, which gives us the best chance for a successful outcome in both substance abuse treatment and sex offender treatment.
Mental health treatment.
Yeah, well, that too. And the fact that, the alternative is another year and a half plus of incarceration to go out to probation, which I'm not sure the oversight would give me the confidence that they can support Mr. Cohen on this journey of change and recovery. And that's kind of the bottom line for me, because you're right, all the evidence laid out, this isn't anybody we would have granted.
Yeah, no, I understand both of your rationale, and I respect it. I mean, I just think that,
I mean, it's unfortunate that we can't, that basically what we're doing, what's happening right now is somebody who struggles with mental health. Really, that seems to be, up and on the forefront here. Struggles with mental health and is, just being housed.
yeah, I understand.
I think the charges are serious. There's no violence in its history.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it just,
okay, so let's,
like in an ideal world, we would see him in a facility where he
could really get
the programs and go out with the best chance of oversight and success, but.
Yeah, okay, so the conditions, I mentioned no minors, problem sexual behavior, porn restriction, enhanced monitoring, no consumption of an alcoholic beverage, and he had several driving infractions.
Yeah, and mental health evaluation and treatment.
Mental health evaluation and treatment. Thank you. Anything else? So with regard to Andrew Cohen, 440200, I move to grant discretionary parole on or after today's date, 7/8/2026, because his eligibility date has already passed, with the following conditions in addition to the standard parole conditions: no consumption of an alcoholic beverage, no contact with minors without the express permission of the parole officer, no driving without the express permission of the parole officer, participate in a mental health evaluation or receive treatment as deemed necessary, participate in problem sexual behavior treatment. You will have a restriction on your viewing of pornography, and your all electronic devices will be monitored by the supervising officer. Is there a second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm a nay. So the record will reflect that this is a majority decision, with panel member Berry voting in the dissent for the reasons stated. So Mr. Cohen, you're really being afforded an opportunity here to go out and try to do better. I need you to stop saying that you're trying to do better and actually do better.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good luck to you,
Thank
sir.
you.
You'll receive all of this in writing.
Have a good day.
Thank you. This concludes the hearing for Andrew Cohen, inmate number 4200.
Lopez? Yeah.
All done, ladies?
That's the case review.
Yeah, no, she can go though.
Yeah, you can disconnect. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Parole Officer Waynerson. Today, Wednesday, July 6th, and this is the case of hearing at a special parole stipulation for Francis Keene, inmate number 165970. Board members, can you please state your names for the record?
Panel member Barry,
Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Nancy Turner.
And also present this afternoon, we have our board psychologist. State Services has requested that a special parole stipulation be added for Mr. Keene by way of placing him into a skilled nursing facility. At this time, the panel will now deliberate in regards to the special parole stipulation request.
thank you. It's my understanding that Mr. Keene does need the nursing home facility condition added so that he could receive the treatment that is necessary. It's my understanding, parole officer Wangersman, that the current condition reads medical parole, nursing facility, skilled